balls are brown and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impacts with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point: the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour optic yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon from the comfort of his own front room. You could say the ITF aced it.
Hello and welcome to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft in for Natalie Sawyer this evening. We, of course, will be taking a look back at the big headlines from another very tasty weekend of Premier League football. Liverpool losing a fourth straight league game. Are their title hopes realistically over? Can anyone stop Arsenal's title charge? We'll talk about Sunderland, who stunned the Blues at Stamford Bridge. Are they going to be one of the surprises of the season? Aston Villa on the charge as well. And Manchester City, just a one-man team. 3 wins on the spin for Ruben Amorim's mighty Manchester United. Is he the right manager after all? All that and much more with the former England midfielder Danny Murphy and the Mirror's Darren Lewis. Give us a call, 03717 223344. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. These two already messing around like it's...
Oh, it's his seat. I've had problems with his seat in that space before.
Yeah.
He does look like a little child.
Yeah, he does. You've just suddenly sunk lower and lower. Are you comfortable over there? You've come in dressed comfortable. You usually got a nice suit on, and so he's working from home day today, obviously, Darren, because you dressed like the Artful Dodger this evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
What was your hand?
I know. I sprained it in the summer and I've not really sorted it out.
You sprained it in the summer?
Yeah, and it's just, I not had the time to get it sorted out.
You're a real man. You just thought, I'll carry on with the pain.
Stupidly.
I hope it feels okay, mate.
It feels quite sore at the moment. So I've got a little tubey grip if you're watching at home, if you're listening at home.
I just wondered whether it was a wound from Liverpool's defeat at the weekend. Danny, how are you feeling as well? You know, you're used to this feeling almost now, Liverpool fans, aren't you?
Do you know what? It's getting used to it now.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a few weeks. Expectation has dropped. No, I've worked all weekend, but I was disappointed and surprised, actually. Not just at losing the game, but the manner in which they lost. I would say that's, of all the defeats recently, that's the worst one in terms of, the physical aspect. They looked so off it. They lost so many second balls and duels. And actually, the one thing you could argue in the defeats at Chelsea against Man U, they created a lot in those games and could have won it. Lost both by trying to win. Whereas the Brentford game, they had the Vert's chance, the off volley. Can't think of too many other blatant, clear-cut chances they had, really. And that is so unlike Liverpool. So it wasn't just defensively poor, physically not at it. It was the lack of creativity in the final third as well. So it's really disappointing.
Well, yeah, I can tell you're both very disappointed this evening. And honestly,
we've got to find some energy.
As a Manchester United fan, it's hurting me.
You must be happy.
You two like this. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. We're Man United, so no one's back yet. No one's celebrating too much. But it's a good day to bump into you two for me. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to get to Liverpool in much more detail. Listen, I want to be smiling, but I just heard that news Uma read to us not too long ago. And I'm annoyed. I almost actually, an expletive almost came out there. I actually almost slipped out. One game on Boxing Day in the Premier League, it's being reported is going to happen. They're taking everything from us in football. The joy, VAR, they're moving games around. They're expanding the World Cup, or they're bringing in a Club World Cup that no one knows. They give us so many games, ruin the quality of what we see. We have to worry about VAR not celebrating goals when they go in. Yeah. It's a tradition. Boxing Day football. And listen, I'll be at an EFL ground or a non-league ground, I'm sure. And everyone should be if they're a Premier League fan and their team's not playing. But it's the English top flight. It's Boxing Day football. It's a national tradition. Why on earth would you change it?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a terrific story by my colleagues at the Times, actually, Gary Jacob and Matt Lawton. And to be honest with you, I want to try and rationalise it, but I can't, because I think it's a staple. I'm sitting next to the next Premier League footballer here who is used to playing during that period. Because if you think about the Premier League, it is almost like a marathon that you have to... These are the lows that you have to negotiate. You can't just prove yourself with the sun on your back. You've got to go through those difficult moments. They're the true test, and it's being taken away.
Remember, they've taken a round of fixtures out. We used to have football on Boxing Day, a round of fixtures between Christmas, and then play again on New Year's Day.
You used to have 4 games in a week.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. I didn't even know anything about that till you just told me before. I don't think as many players will be bothered as they would have been in our day, just because of the multicultural aspect of playing squads now. But when I started, or even throughout my career, most of the lads I played would love Boxing Day, and you get into a habit with it as well, because the fans were always up for it. It was always a good atmosphere, and also being with the lads over Christmas. You have your little family bit, and then you're off. And it's like, get away from the chaos. Get away from the chaos. Go to the hotel, whatever it is, with the boys, together, ready for that Boxing Day game. Some things just aren't meant to be broken or changed. I know we are all a bit older, and the younger element probably don't care too much, but there's something traditional about it. And it does feel like every last little thing we get. The big one for me, just deviating a little bit, was probably, Wembley used to be a place you got to if you succeeded in something. There's not a footballer now who hasn't played at Wembley, I don't think. Yeah, every game's there, more or less.
It's pretty much a handful of clubs in the '92 that haven't been to Wembley since the new Wembley.
But generally, all these things happen for money. When you think about the old Champions League, it was for the champions, and the UEFA Cup was really hard to win because 2nd, 3rd, 4th finished in that competition. They recalibrated in the summer. They went again the following season. It was a tough competition to win. Why has it changed? For money. All of these things are all about money.
I just don't. Financially, what I'd love to hear the reasoning from the Premier League, because it's a Friday, so they don't want to have games on. It's a holiday period.
What's the game? What's the round of fixtures the week before? 20.
Which date?
The date before. Sorry, is it 21st?
So it's going to be the 27th. Is the Saturday that they're going to have most of the games on. So it would be the 20th.
21st.
Yeah. I just don't see where they're going to financially make money. If it's for the rest of the world who are kind of outside, Western Europe and whatnot, if it's on a Friday, there's a large swathe of the world who are off work on a Friday.
Yeah.
It's their weekend, so you could still have the games on Boxing Day on a Friday, and they could all still watch it. So who's it for? I don't understand who it's for. I just don't get it.
No, I think the decisions, as you said, are commercial generally. So there will be a commercial element behind it. Ultimately, shouldn't we be occasionally looking after the fans here in this country?
Look at the traditions in North American sport. Could you imagine if they cancel the Thanksgiving fixtures in the United States? Come on. For most of the world, Thanksgiving is just another Thursday in autumn. You know, we don't even know that Thanksgiving's happening. But you're not going to cancel all of your fixtures because American football's a global sport and there's viewers all over the world. If you want to be a part of it and be a fan of it, be a part of all of it, including its traditions.
I think if you look at European football, they've been straining at the leash to change a lot of things that we would suggest are staples. I mean, they've only just called off the La Liga game because of the protests in Spain. But had there not been protests,
Darren Lewis,
no. But had they not had those protests, they would have had that one game in Australia, another one in America, and so I think, and then obviously we got this revitalized Champions League because there'd been attempts to form a Super League. There are always ways that people are looking to evolve the game, and in a way, part of me sitting here in this conversation, I'm thinking to myself, we can't be dinosaurs. We can't live in a bygone era forever.
No, you have to be open-minded.
Understand, exactly. And so, and you know, if you look at other European countries, for example, they have mid-season breaks. They look to take steps to protect players, even though there have been periods of the season.
What are you saying about protecting players?
No, I don't think it is. But I'm just trying to kind of be even-handed on the
Will they not
part
just
of
be
the Premier
thinking
League.
to themselves, just playing devil's advocate for a second? Will they not just be thinking it's only a day later? Everyone's still off anyway.
For people at least in this country, Boxing Day is a very specific day because a lot of people have come back to their home cities, towns, gone back to see
agree
family.
with you. I'm just trying to think.
And that day after Christmas Day, of course, is a day to go out and have a drink and see people. And the sport is a great way to kind of do that. You buy some tickets. A lot of people go back and watch the teams that they followed as a kid that they don't go and see regularly. The stadiums are packed out. It's fantastic. It's a family day for most people. Why? I don't understand why you would take that away from people. Listen, I hope people still go and watch sport. The EFL will still be there. Non-league will still be there. Other sports, rugby, I'm sure, will have Boxing Day. And I get it. People can still go out and do that tradition. But if you're a fan of a Premier League club, that option's been taken away from you. And I'd love to see when this story eventually is officially out, because, as you say, it's some great work to get an exclusive by our friends at the Times, that the Premier League gives us some very serious reasoning behind it, because I think they need to do that for the fans at least. Anyway, let's very quickly move on and back to Liverpool. 4 straight league defeats for the Reds. Saturday night, a 3-2 defeat to Brentford, live on talkSPORT. Let's hear from the Liverpool boss, Arne Slot, after that defeat.
Teams have a certain playing style against us, which is a very good strategy to play, and we haven't found that answer yet, and that every time going 1-0 down doesn't really help as well after 5 minutes. So it's a bit of that teams know which strategy to play against us. We are still, even today when we don't play well, able to score 2 goals and create more chances than only the 2 goals we scored from open play. But you cannot even compete, which we don't do at the moment. We don't compete up there because we simply concede too many goals. And that is not something I only look at our defense, because that's something we do with 11 players together.
It's interesting to hear Arne Slot every time. He reveals quite a lot, which is refreshing. You know, he's Dutch, so they like to tell us everything, right? You know, they're very revealing, very honest people. He is exactly the same. And to hear him discuss that teams know how Liverpool are going to play, listen, he's the manager. He has to be a problem solver. Okay, so it's one thing identifying them. He now needs to solve them. And he said that for several games, referring to how the opposition are playing against Liverpool. He knows now what the opposition are going to do. So why isn't he coming up with something to answer those questions?
Well, he spoke, he corrected a few people who were automatically thinking he was jumping on Man United and their tactics. He spoke about that again a few days later, because what he was saying was, when I'm asked the question about how the game goes, because I took that United interview as he meant it, in that when asked the question, look, this is what they did, and fair play, and we still managed to make the amount of chances we did against a team that plays that way, which was the pleasing aspect of it. Then he talked about the defending, etc. So I think sometimes, although it does, ideally you don't want your manager constantly referencing other teams. This is, it sounds like you're making an excuse that they're playing a certain way that's negative and it's anti-football. I don't think he's actually doing that. The fixing of the problem, what he's talking about, they will have worked on. They will have defended long throw-ins. They will have set up and practiced. The problem is you've got a mixed back four a lot of the time. The fullbacks keep changing. Obviously, Mamdashvili's come in. The midfield's changing. You're constantly changing the setup on who you've got in the box to defend these situations. And you could argue that when you look around the side, when Liverpool's not a team of giants, very reliant on Konate and Van Dijk aerially. And other teams are seeing that, and they're just not coping. I mean, the first goal, Ekitike doesn't really get off the floor. It's basic stuff.
It's about 6'5" as well. It's enormous. There you go.
So there's more to it than set play.
I was stunned by it. I'm actually not goading Liverpool fans. When I saw that, we all know that Brentford have a long throw. 2-3 minutes into the game, I thought, first contact here is going to be a Liverpool head, and they're going to set the tone for these long throws for the rest of the game.
And then second contact.
Exact opposite. It was crazy. We're going to come to it more and more this hour. In fact, the whole hour, we'll be talking about Liverpool. If you've got a view on it, are Liverpool in crisis? Then give us a call, 03717 223344. And are their title chances gone already? You can drop us a text as well on 81089. This is not directed at you, Darren. Don't take it personally. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Labrooks. He is taking it personally. It's 18+, begambleaware.org. Honestly, it breaks my heart to have to discuss this hour on talkSPORT. Have Liverpool thrown away their title chances already? Is it a blip, maybe? Or is it actually a full-blown crisis? 03717 223344. I'll get the thoughts of Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis on that crisis angle very, very shortly. I'm Hugh Woozencroft. Thank you for being with us. We're going to give some positive notes to Brentford very shortly as well after another big win for them under Keith Andrews. In the meantime, though, let's get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So, plenty for us to discuss this evening with our friend Cal Guildhart. Good evening, my friend.
Evening, Hugh. How are you doing?
Very well. Delighted to say alongside Ladbrokes, we're going to be picking our magic moment of the weekend very shortly. You'll find out ours towards the end of the hour, but I was interested to know what you were thinking about it.
Well, can I say Brian Mbeumo's first touch, or do we just take that as a given now?
True.
I don't think, looking at it, I don't think any side enjoyed a more satisfying weekend than Arsenal did. They're now 6 points clear of City, Liverpool and Chelsea, and they all lost. But I've got to say, Sunderland's win over Chelsea is my moment of the weekend. Best mate is a Sunderland fan. He's endured 2 unwanted record-breaking seasons. It's his wedding this weekend. When he met his fiancée, they just finished 8th in League One. You know, when they say I do, they're in the Champions League spots, having just beaten the champions in their own world champions, sorry, in their own backyard with a stoppage time winner. I mean, that's surely what Ladisfaction's about.
Yeah, yes, that's one way of putting it. Ladisfaction, absolutely. We're going to, as I say, pick our own magic moments of the weekend very, very soon. You mentioned Arsenal. How has their great weekend affected the Premier League title odds?
Yeah, they have pulled well clear in the title betting. They're now 4-9 to win it. City are the nearest rivals at 9-2. Liverpool naturally drifted again, and they're now 7-1. It felt like they were that short to win the treble not too long ago, which shows how their form's been and affected that market. There is a big gap between those three and the rest of the pack, though. Biggest movers odds-wise are now the 4 favourites, and that's actually United, whose odds halved for the second week running. They're now 25-1 from 50s. And it's also now 4-1 that they win their next 2 matches to let that lad finally get his hair cut. That's not me, by the way.
Should be.
It's always the bored ones throwing shade, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Believe it or not, Danny, I had my hair cut this afternoon ready for the wedding at the weekend.
Did you?
But yeah, Chelsea and Spurs follow United at 40-1 and 50-1 respectively there.
Relegation odds now. We've seen some promoted sides doing very well, which puts some pressure on some other teams.
Yeah, it does. I mean, a treble on the promoted clubs to go straight back down was pretty much odds on at the start of the season. Now it's only Burnley who are among the 3 favourites. They're 2-1 on, so they have drifted still after yesterday's win. If you put stock in our markets, then Wolves are in serious danger. No one's been priced shorter than the 7-2 on odds that they are to go down. And West Ham are now firmly among the favourites. They shortened to evens after that horror show against Brentford last week, but now they're almost as short as Burnley at 4-7. An interesting one that I saw was Forest were 5-2 to go down before Sean Dyche took over. Even in that defeat the other day, they've gone out to 11-4. Leeds, they're the only other side priced shorter than 6-1, but even they're trending in the right direction because they went out from 9-4 to 3-1 with Ladbrokes.
Brilliant, Cal. Thank you very much indeed. That was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 plus. Make sure you check out gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So this hour we'll be asking, are Liverpool in crisis? Give us a call on talkSPORT 03717 223344. Danny Murphy and Darren Lewis alongside me. Let's very quickly touch on Brentford. What a great result for them. They're 11th in the table now, 13 points. They've already beaten Manchester United and Liverpool at home this season. There were a lot of question marks about the appointment of Keith Andrews. Is he proving the doubters wrong?
I think he is. He's very calm in his interviews, speaks well. Obviously, there was a few raised eyebrows because of his lack of experience, but we know Brentford have kind of done this before. The players they've lost, that was another question mark. How they're going to cope. Struggled on the opening day, so more questions raised. I think they lost at Forest. I was actually at the game against West Ham, where they were absolutely superb, but it was kind of underplayed because of how bad West Ham were. It's like, oh, were Brentford really that good?
Yeah.
Because West Ham are struggling. And then they follow it up with that performance. And I saw the Man U game as well, where I thought they did really well. They've got pace, they've got cuteness, they've got good defenders who enjoy defending, and they're nice and solid and stable, especially good on set plays, which you expect. But I think ultimately the biggest compliment to him is that they're all on board with what he's doing. And you can see a collective and a group of players who are really pushing the boundaries physically to leave everything out there for the manager. And that doesn't always happen with a new manager, and doesn't always happen with a younger guy who's got no experience. You have to kind of convince the group. And he's certainly done that. So fair play to him, deserves all the plaudits he's getting. And, you know, they've got some really... I mean, Damsgaard's playing as well as he's ever played in the Premier League. He's opening up teams for fun. And the lad Sharda, I mean, he is quick. And he's actually finishing's calm. He keeps getting in these positions, but keeps finishing. I mean, so they've got some real... And Collins has grown into a very accomplished centre-half, not just defensively. I mean, good with the ball. So lots of positives for Brentford.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic result for them this weekend. 3-2 victory over Liverpool. It means the big question marks over the Reds. The Premier League champions, are they going to go back-to-back, or are their chances completely gone? Is it a crisis? We want to know that from you this hour. I'll get the views of Danny Murphy straight after this. Give us a call if you want to get involved. 03717 223344. This is talkSPORT.
We can talk about Gabriel and Saliba being the Premier League's best ever centre-half pairing after they've won some trophies. That's according to Martin Keown. The Arsenal Invincible has actually been praising their threat at the other end of the pitch.
Saliba sits on the keeper, and that's important because this sort of contact with the keeper takes him out of the equation. That's really important as well. Everyone knows their role at set pieces, but Gabriel is the one who's putting the ball in the back of the net.
But Martin O'Neill has told talkSPORT Liverpool can still get themselves back into that title race, but he doesn't want to hear any more of Arne Slot's excuses about opposition tactics, saying they're reminiscent of Arsene Wenger.
When anybody got a result against them, they used to play the long ball. It was the English style. It was all of those particular things that would infuriate you as an opposition manager.
Ali McCoy says Hearts winning the league would be great for Scottish football, but the Rangers legend believes the continued demise of the old firm isn't good for the game north of the border. Sheffield Wednesday's joint administrator says there are 4 or 5 interested buyers that look like the real deal. And Pat Cummins is officially out of the first Ashes test. Aussie head coach Andrew McDonald has been asked when his skipper is returning.
Not really going to be able to answer that, other than to say that he'll be back bowling this week. And that's a huge step.
Loads more Ashes build-up on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh Woozencroft, the Mirror's assistant editor Darren Lewis, and the former England and Liverpool midfielder Danny Murphy.
I didn't realise you were only the assistant. I don't know why I had him in my head as the king of, the top of the tree, but anyway.
Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, it's quite high up, Darren, give yourself a pat on the back nonetheless. Listen, it's not been a great Monday for Liverpool fans. They're wondering what the end of the season's going to look like after 4 straight Premier League defeats. One of our resident Liverpool fans is our one and only Tony Cascarino. On Saturday, on Weekend Breakfast, he gave his assessment of the club right now.
The manager's spinning plates. And when you get that scenario of you've got a number of transfers that come through the door, and we only see the effects of when they're on the pitch. But there's also scenarios that do happen at football clubs, because I've been in it myself, where transfers that happen, have they settled in within the camp, in the dressing room, on the training ground, settled in with a group? Because when you do a lot of transfers, most of them have got to work if you're going to even... Liverpool have gone from a team that were very stable last year with nothing happening to doing loads of business, and it's all over the place. It feels like you're spinning plates with every position.
Do you agree with what Tony had to say?
Makes sense. He is spinning plates in terms of working out who's fit enough to play, who's gaining momentum with their fitness. If you look at the Isak situation... McAllister missed pre-season, Conor Bradley, Frimpong's getting injured, the problems at left-back, which isn't injuries, but, his form settling in, Kirkes. So, yeah, I think he's right. Spinning plate's a good way of looking at it. I think the biggest problem for me, and there's a few issues, the main thing I see over the last few weeks is because defensively they're nowhere near the levels of last year. In terms, the amount of goals they've conceded is so... I haven't got the exact number, it's a lot. And physically, so many of them look lower than the levels they were last year. In terms of tenacity, chasing, winning second balls, even the sharpness on the ball at times, because that's fitness as well. When you're getting a bit tired and you make a sloppy pass or you get caught in possession or knocked off the ball. Really, you could argue Szoboszlai's been a standout of quality and still physically perfect. Just keeps doing a run in. And Gravenberch, when he plays, has looked his normal level. Can't really say too many others. Ekitike's done all right since he's come in, but even Ekitike's had the odd game where he's looked a little bit lightweight, like at the weekend, but he has done great since he's come in. So, physically, in this Premier League, if you're playing catch-up, or too many of you are, it's very difficult to compete. Now, that's not an excuse for getting out jumped on a long throw-in and things like that, but all round, when teams are playing long balls and you're fighting for seconds or your back four's getting turned, making a lot of runs, you've got to be physically ready. And I don't think it's an attitude thing. I don't think it's a group of players with a bad attitude. I think, and the other thing, just to finish on my views, is that inevitably the changes in the team delay the relationship building. We see it in so many teams. You start building little relationships, knowing when someone's spinning in behind or whatever it may be in defensive areas, and there's just not any combinations happening. There's not enough. We saw it early in the season with Wirtz and Ekitike, Charity Shield, and then the first couple of games you're thinking, these two like playing with each other. You could sense it. And that's evaporated because Isak came in the team and then Wirtz was left on the bench and shoved on the right or whatever. So there's a lot to get right.
Does he go back to as much as he can then, Arne Slot? Does he go back to the setup and the team that he had last year?
Well,
he tried recently, didn't he? Still lost.
Yeah, absolutely. He's benched Isak at times. He's benched Wirtz. He's benched Ekitike. We talked about this subject a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about the fact that I knew this would come about, but when the trauma of Jota a few weeks after what happened with the Liverpool parade happened, but Jota in particular, they suspended pre-season.
They did, yeah.
So when you talk about them being leggy, there are reasons for that. They are not fit. If you look at Isak missed pre-season because he effectively went on strike at Newcastle to force his move to Liverpool. And as Danny says, that doesn't excuse them not being able to set up and focus on throw-ins and the lapses in concentration. But it does account for the lack of mobility. It does account for the legginess, the inability to get to those levels that they were able to reach at the back end of games last season. At the moment, they look shambolic at the back. They look spent up front. And it's going to take a while before they get it right. I will just say this, though. I remember the title defence of 2021 when Virgil van Dijk was injured against Everton, and it was a poor challenge, and it put him out for the rest of the season. Exactly. And the rest of the season was shambolic. I see some in some areas these question marks around Slot. He's fine. He's going to be fine because Liverpool are a club. They back their managers. They work with their managers and they stand by them. And I think that they'll give him the time, given what happened during the summer, to actually make sure that everybody comes through it.
It wouldn't be as bad, Hugh, but we were talking before and you looked it up and it was a great point that you made. And I'm not going to try and steal it because you were on it. No team's won the league losing more than 6 games.
In the last 10 years. I've got it here in front of me, right? So,
yeah, go on.
Well, actually, I can actually better that. In the last 5 years, only one team has won the Premier League by more than 5 points. So the differential between first and second place is as much as 5 points, but not more than that, except, of course, for Liverpool last season. And if you look at Liverpool in the last five out of the last 6 games, not only have they lost... But not only have they lost games in all competitions, they've always conceded the first goal in those defeats as well. They've not scored the first goal since the game against Southampton. I think it was September 23rd. So it isn't even that they're taking the lead and surrender it. They're never in the games. It's the opposition that are taking over.
Maximum defeats that you can have and still win the league in the last 10 years was 6 in a COVID-impacted season. Other than that, on 2 occasions has a team lost 5 games and still won the league.
Really? It's amazing, isn't it?
So 7 out of the last 10 years, if you lose 4 games or fewer, you've got a chance.
But I said it.
Liverpool have already lost 4. They'll lose at least 1 or 2 more games, even on good form.
After what happened in the summer, I have to say, we talked about this right at the start of the season. I didn't believe Liverpool were, despite all the money that they've spent and everything else, I still believe that this would be a difficult season for Liverpool. So nothing about what I'm seeing is really shocking me that much.
It is shocking me in a way. Although I thought there might be some inconsistency, I didn't think there'd be consistent inconsistency. I thought you might see Liverpool batter a couple of teams, then they'll lose a silly game and, all that, because new players, integration and all that. Yeah. I think you're right with what you're saying on the stats. Is the reason that worries me more is, records are there to be broken.
Yeah.
But the leaders of the Premier League, Arsenal, at the moment, are formidable defensively. They are strong, well organised, and when you watch them play, they enjoy defending. All of them. It's like he's programmed them. If you don't do it, you're not in a team. All of them. Even the wide players are out here on the recovery runs, on the press. Gyökeres starts the press. He works unselfishly. He's got no ego. They've got cover now at the back.
But then I want to actually
big
myself up on this because I remember the day after Liverpool, and we were arguing about the way that Arteta had set up, and we were arguing so much, and so many people disagreed with me. Even Luke came in, who's one of the broadcast assistants, came in and was telling me off in the break, because for me, the way that Arteta wants his team to set up is to be hard to beat. And everyone questions when they either drop points or lose. Everyone questions his ambition. Is he ambitious enough? Is he showing enough? But what he is determined to do, it doesn't have to be pretty. It has to be effective. And that's what we're seeing now from Arsenal. If you look at what they've done so far this season, they've conceded only 3 goals, right? But not only are they strong defensively, at set pieces, 11 of their 16 goals have come from corners or free kicks. They are a well-oiled machine.
So are you saying they're going to win it or not?
I've always said they're going to win it.
We're going to do Arsenal in more detail a little bit later on, so Arsenal fans, hold fire for that. Just to end the conversation on Liverpool, I asked, is it a crisis? Do you concur with that? And if it is, how do they turn it around?
I think it's a crisis now, on the one hand, but on the other, I think it's the problem that we always felt was going to come. It's come now. I know you disagree with that slightly, don't you?
No, I take it. I didn't see it being smooth, but I didn't see this capitulation in such a short space. I thought there might be the odd shocking, not shocking result, but disappointing result, because you're just trying to find the balance. But I didn't expect them to be 4 losses on the spin.
Mm-hmm.
Normally you play badly and you're a top team, you draw a couple. You dig out a draw, or you get a last-minute equaliser against you, for you, whatever it is. And even the games they won, really, when you look back now, Newcastle, they were struggling against 10 men. They were struggling to break Burnley down.
The next 2 Liverpool games, live here on talkSPORT, Wednesday night, hosting Crystal Palace, which is a team that Liverpool fans know all too well.
The next 3 games, they've got the Palace, they've got Palace at home, Villa at home, Real Madrid at home. And I think those games are going to be crucial.
Yeah, if you win all 3, the narrative changes, but it's a big ask.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Keep your messages coming in on Liverpool, 81089 on the text. I'll try and read some of those out straight after the break. We're going to have our magic moments of the weekend. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. Hello, good evening. If you're just joining us, this is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Former Fulham captain Danny Murphy is here alongside the Mirror's assistant editor Darren Lewis. He will make it to editor one day, don't worry. Time now to look at our magic moments of the weekend, all thanks to Ladisfaction from Ladbrokes.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
We'll get to Arsenal in more detail after 8 o'clock, so Arsenal fans, stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we get to choose our magic moments of the weekend. Danny, I'll start with you.
Well, I was tempted to go safe and do the Bruno story, Guimaraes, because his family was there and the emotion, last-minute winner, it brings back a lot of memories. Last-minute winners are the best thing in football, as a footballer, especially when your family are there. It's an amazing feeling. But I'm actually going to go with something. There wasn't a magic moment necessarily for me, but I think it's a magic moment and could be in the season for Man U, is Matheus Cunha's goal. Because his level of performance was great, but the goal for him could just kick him on. I was one of his biggest fans last season because I think the true sign of a really top player is when you can perform the way he did in a team that was bang average around him, and score the amount of goals he did and carry the team like he did. That showed me a lot. I know some people are questioning the attitude, a couple of silly sendings off because he's frustrated playing at Wolves, the one at Bournemouth, for example. But I thought it was, and I saw his interview after, and if you take off Liverpool and Man United hats, the joy in his face, the sense of relief I could feel in his words, and his kind of eagerness to kick on now. And he's just got that thing as a footballer you enjoy watching because he's so strong and glides past players. He can just make things happen. And when people try and fight him and rough him up, he doesn't mind. And for United fans, this could be a really pivotal moment, not just because they've won again, but because Cunha has to be on top of his game for United to have a successful season. And I'm not dismissing Mbeumo's contribution because he's been terrific as well. Even in a lot of United's games where they were poor, he's still stood up and been counted. But for Matheus Cunha, that goal could be his magic moment in the season.
Do you know what was nice about it from a Manchester United fan perspective? I don't know if you saw the celebration, but clearly everyone in that squad was aware how much it meant for him to score his first Manchester United goal. Obviously, the fact that he hadn't scored as yet. So every single player, pretty much, apart from the goalkeeper, went all the way down the other end to make sure that they got a kind of personal moment with him, including Casemiro, who waited at the end of the line. I don't know if you saw that moment. It probably should have been my magic moment of the weekend. And Cunha just leapt into his arms like Casemiro was his dad picking him up from nursery. Do you know what I mean? It was just like... Because obviously the relationship as two Brazilians, and the fact that, you know, we sometimes might kind of mock Casemiro because we didn't get his prime here in the Premier League, but he is a Brazilian football icon and legend in terms of what he's delivered in a Real Madrid shirt. And Cunha's age, he's probably looked up, in terms of becoming a professional footballer, looked up to him quite a lot. So to be a teammate of his must mean a lot. And that moment was a really, really nice moment. But what it showed me is they're building a bond and they're building a spirit, and that has been lacking at Man United for the last few years. So if you can galvanise that group in a way, it's something that you don't expect. He hasn't scored yet, but actually it's that player standout moment that we can all have that moment of joy around was a special one. Sorry, guys.
I brought it up. I think you have to be able to look at things objectively when you're talking about special moments. But he's a player that I think could be one of those as he grows into the role who United fans really take to.
Well, to be honest with you, I was going to go with Eze's goal for mine against Palace because obviously the finish was fantastic and it was another set-piece goal. Finish. But I am going to go with, and I was also going to say Sunderland, the final whistle at Sunderland, because that was a superb footballing performance as well. But I'm actually going to go with the same game. And I'm not going to go with a goal. I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandes's dummy for the second goal to release Mbeumo, because the awareness.
This is wrong.
Making that wrong.
If you've got a United moment, you need to change it. This is wrong.
You're going to love my moment as well. Go ahead.
But no, the awareness. I mean, again, like you said, to put all of the rivalries and the allegiances to one side, I think the quality of the dummy and the awareness to see Mbeumo making that run, to leave it so that it falls into the path. And then the finish from Mbeumo as well. I mean, the goal is secondary, to be honest with you. It's the awareness, it's the movement, or lack of, from Fernandes, which is first class. And that's what football's all about.
Well, Bruno's numbers on creating chances for others is always top, because he's one of the very few players who doesn't care about giving the ball away, trying to win games and make things happen. And it's so refreshing to see such an intelligent footballer. Now, ideally, you'd want him in I think, a 10, whereas it doesn't matter now, he's playing centre mid, but 2 people behind him who can cover him and just let him go and destroy teams. But when I watch football, a lot of the time, especially from a midfield eye, I see so many looking to play those progressive passes or looking up to think, should I, shouldn't I? And then there's an extra touch. I see this a lot in football. Midfielders with their hand up, apologising. Yeah, I saw you, but I'll go safe again. Because they're so obsessed with numbers and stats. Or a moan from the crowd for giving the ball away. Or the manager going, keep it. I think the academies is a bit of a problem with that as well. Constantly with the kids, keep the ball, keep the ball. I used to pride myself on, I think if you have anything over 75% complete pass completion, you shouldn't be playing in midfield. Because you're not taking any risks. I hate the numbers that come out as a positive. And going back with that, well, that's probably a conversation for another day. But Bruno, if they're winning 2-0, losing 2-0, if he sees it,
he'll try it.
He's trying it.
Yeah, you see it a lot with academy players, and I know you said it's a separate conversation, but you see a lot, and everyone's going, "This is a great player in the academy, and everything's safe," and they find it hard to go to the level they need to be at to stay in the Premier League, for example, because they haven't worked on having a more expansive passing game, or maybe they're just not ready to take those risks. It's football. It's the beautiful game. Those passes are what makes it so beautiful. Those dummies are what makes it so beautiful. And young players need to do that. Need to try that.
He's being modest, but you tried stuff more often.
That was my game. Yeah, I did, and I was brought up that way because I used to think if I'm in midfielder, there is a caveat in that. A certain role in a midfield 3, for example, if you've got 2 creators, one of you has to be a bit more sensible. And also, if you're winning the game.
But when you were at Crewe, wasn't Seth quite good at that? Seth Johnson, couldn't he spray it about?
Yeah, he was another one. He was another one. But we were taught to take the risk. He'd go mad if we didn't. And the fact is that midfielders now, I mean, De Bruyne was another one. If I haven't got his stats in front of me, I'm just going off my eyes, and I have looked at his stats in the past, but his pass completion was never that high. Because he's constantly trying to hit people and slide people in, and that doesn't, it doesn't always work. And if you think, if I go back to when I was playing, I could probably name you 10 off the top of my head. If I said to you right now, name me 5 midfielders who have that Bruno mindset in the Prem. There's not many.
Yeah. Whereas when you played, there was Scholes.
Madison's a good example. I know he's more of a 10, but Madison tries things. He always has done. His numbers have always been.
That's probably why he's not in the team very often.
Well, he's injured. He's had a lot of.
No. But when he was fit,
Wirtz immediately came to mind.
Wirtz is one
because he tries loads of things.
Wirtz is a good one because his numbers for creating chances have actually been good.
Yeah, but we can't be hypocrites. People are right now saying Wirtz is not being that great.
That's why it stands out as an example, right? Because so many people are kind of down on his game. But actually, if I think of a player who's trying to be creative, trying to make things happen,
and
he immediately stands
Danny
out.
says, they're probably right now. There are probably people who are driving around in their cars, wannabe coaches who are shouting. I've got 2 boys and a daughter. All of them play football. I've seen opposition coaches shouting at their young children because they're losing the ball, shouting at them as if they're men because they're losing the ball. It's just absolutely bonkers. And these guys fancy themselves as Premier League coaches and stuff like that, but they're shouting at people for the very thing you're saying, trying stuff.
Yeah, I think with youth football, and I've worked a lot over the recent years, the differences that I saw is that a lot of keep the ball, stop giving it away is when a lot of kids want to dribble everyone and be messy. Yeah. There's a big difference with players who get it out of the feet and have time to look up and hit passes, and we're losing that a little bit. If you think of the England team or the England squad even, there's not many in there who you'd think can sit in there and dictate and spray the ball and open up teams.
If you look at, for example, the assist that I think Eze made for Martinelli
against Manchester City. That's it. Eze's another one.
When he had the ball at his feet, you're going, he's in an ocean of space for a Premier League quality organisation.
Yeah.
But I think even Manchester City was surprised he played, even though he had the space and he's a good player, because they just don't think people are going to try that risky ball over the top on the off chance that their forward player gets there before the goalkeeper. He did it, it worked. But a lot of the games they play, and players won't try that.
Oh, I do saying that. I'm trying to remember whose ball it was for the first goal, the first Burnley goal yesterday. He's on the left side.
Is the left back for Burnley. I can't remember which player
hits
it was.
it over the
Beautiful
top,
pass.
and he hits it on the volley into the bottom corner. He strokes it into the bottom. It's a sensation. It's a candidate already for goal of the season, for my money. But he's another player. You're saying that they don't do it. There's another player.
Odegaard can do it.
Guys,
he does it.
You'll be absolutely delighted to know that my magic moment also comes from the same game. Rather unbelievably, it isn't a Manchester United one. It's Danny Welbeck's free kick that was my magic moment of the weekend. That's the 5th goal he scored at Old Trafford since he's left, 7 against United since he departed the club. He scored 5 in his last 4, and the reason it was my magic moment is because it once again underlined his quality. He has to be called up by Thomas Tuchel next month.
Can I do a full disclosure here?
Yeah.
You and I are in the same WhatsApp group, right? And I actually agree with what you said straight afterwards. Why is he not in contention for an England place? And I stayed quiet at the time.
Danny, I see that look on your face. Why not?
I don't know. I think, yes, if you're talking about a squad tomorrow. I think if you look at other candidates, people like Delap, who obviously is injured at the moment, who had a good season last season.
Would you take Delap?
Right now, no, you take Welbeck because he's playing well. But I think if you're playing top international level football, Welbeck's been a great player and still is a good player. But he's not impact. I'd rather play Rashford up there in an international game against France.
Interesting.
I just think Welbeck leads the line so well, and Rashford doesn't. I get his.
Oh, that's hard to say after Rashford's been involved.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. Leading the line through the middle, Rashford's major factor is his speed and running in behind. But a player with his back to goal who can bring players into it.
When you think of Ivan, if you think of Ivan, Toney, Delap, Watkins, Kane, all fit, playing well, are you going to put Welbeck ahead of them?
I think Delap's probably bottom of that list because I think you might disagree, but I think I don't know if Delap has done enough.
No, maybe, and it's only an opinion. I'm not. Welbeck is reliable, and he's played for England. And he was good for England.
Yeah.
And that for me is the key reason to bring him. If there are an extra 3 spots, say in the World Cup squad, they might expand it. It's a long World Cup. It's in the heat next year. Who would I give one of those 3 extra places to? I'd definitely bring an extra forward. And the one that I feel actually matches Kane's game most, obviously not at the same level, but style. He's reliable. It's probably Welbeck. Who might be a good tourist. Those are my reasons.
I don't think anybody would be offended by it. What I just would say on the free kick, though, keeper. Oh my God! It's gone in the middle of the goal.
I knew you'd take it away from me. That was my magic moment. You have to spoil everything. Jesus.
I like the goalie, by the way. He looks really assured, but that should never go in.
That was our magic moments from the week, brought to us by Ladisfaction with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
Magic moments of the weekend on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Arsenal are going to win the league. Let us know what you think. 03717 223344.
Cherries to the Tractor Boys, the Eagles to the Seagulls, Gunners, Bees, Hammers and Magpies, Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Let's start with Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were two local toffee shops. Ye Ancient Everton Toffee House and Mother Noblet's Toffee Shop were big fan favourites. Next, they say if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and that's exactly what Ipswich Town did when it came to their nickname. The term Tractor Boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire's also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles," and some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
This hour on Kickoff, Set Piece FC, and they don't care. Arsenal continue their imperious form in pursuit of the Premier League title. Does it matter that they aren't really scoring from open play? Give us a call, 03717 223344. Can the Gunners break the Premier League record of just 15 goals conceded as well? Anyway, elsewhere, stop Haaland, stop City. Do Pep Guardiola's squad need to step their game up? And it's all kicking off at Wolves. Is the relationship breaking down between the fans and the players? This is Kickoff. As I mentioned, you can give us a call on 03717 223344. You can text us as well on 81089. We are going to start this hour by discussing Arsenal, who have gone 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. Eberechi has scoring against his former club, Arsenal beating Crystal Palace to extend their lead at the Summit. The winner came from another trademark Arsenal set piece. Declan Rice curling in a free kick into the area. It was knocked down by centre-back Gabriel Eze, acrobatically firing the ball into the corner of the net. Very well taken goal. The win means Arsenal are now unbeaten in 10 matches in all competitions. Just how good, Danny, is this Arsenal team at the moment?
Very good, very strong, confident, powerful. Got lots of competition for places, which always enhances the level of performance. And probably yet to see the more creative, better side of them in terms of free-flowing goals in open play, whatever word you want to use. They've got enough players for that to happen. I've got no doubt about that with Eze. Odegaard's a comeback, and Saka's going to score his fair share, as he always does. Their set plays are so well drilled, and they've got so many players who are so determined to get on the end of them. I don't see that stopping, because teams are working on setting up to stop it and struggling to do so. It might ease off a little bit if Gabriel gets an injury, but other than that, can't really see it. So I've got no problem with them doing it. You play to your strengths, and if you find something that works, their numbers are so far ahead of everyone else. Why wouldn't you stick to it and make no apologies for it? Football's not about playing one way and winning games in one style. You have to be able to win games ugly. You have to be able to mix it up. You know, I think he's found a way of playing that the players are really on board with, that suits the personnel he's brought in, and they've sprinkled it even more this season with a bit more stardust that's going to get better and better. So they've really quickly turned around the slight bit of negativity that was there after the defeat at Anfield, and the criticism. I mean, the criticism after the Man City home game was bizarre. As far as I was sticking up for Arteta for once, because I was thinking, this is ridiculous. They've just pinned City basically into their own box, which nobody ever does, and should have and could have won the game on a different day. You get the feeling watching Arsenal play at the moment, and this was after a European game against a really good Palace side. I don't think Palace had a shot, maybe one shot on target, and Arsenal weren't brilliant, but they never looked like losing. They never look. A bad day for Arsenal, a minute looks like you might be able to nick a draw. I mean, Liverpool beating with that wonder goal from Szoboszlai, I know that. But they've kicked on a bit since then. Ezra's found his feet, and he's a wonderful talent. They've got such an opportunity now, because there's no real weakness. The only player I would say they don't have two of is Rice. He would be the one player I think, if he's missing, who's got his presence, who's got his physicality, but everywhere else. I mean, they've missed Saliba for 2 or 3 games at least already, and nobody's made. Odegaard's been injured. That would have been a catastrophe a year ago. Saka's missed a few already. Madueke came in and looked as sharp as anybody. I mean, Arsenal fans must be quiet. Well, some quietly, some loudly, but they must be frothing, because there is a chance the way they play. I don't think they will win both, because you need a lot of luck, but they're capable.
Absolutely, of winning very big trophies this season. They're not currently to everyone's taste, though. Earlier today on The Breakfast Show, our very own Jeff Stelling urged the Gunners to change their style of play.
This is the 4th game they've been involved in this season in 9 Premier League games. It's finished 1-0. Didn't win them all, obviously. And there's a 1-1 in there as well. For me, they've got great players. I love some of the Arsenal players, you know. I love Saka, I love Odegaard when he's playing, you know. I love Eberechi Eze as well. But please be just a bit more expansive. I mean, watching Arsenal against Palace was watching paint dry. It's the classic. It was purgatory. I started watching that match. I'd had enough of it before Arsenal had a shot, actually.
Let me just interject there, because I like Jeff, with no disrespect. It's a layman's view in that.
But
well, if I watch the game and Palace are arguably playing the last few months as well as they've ever played. They're as well organised as any team in the Premier League defensively. They've gone to Arsenal. Their shape is really good. Now, if you could think you can click your fingers and start playing through Palace and scoring 3 and 4 and making loads of chances, it's not going to happen. They don't set up like that. They've got a trio of centre-halves. They're all 6 foot plus, all lightning quick and good defenders. They've got 2 central midfielders who sit inside. They've got wing-backs who drop in and make a 5. You can go out with great intention of going, well, it's Crystal Palace, we're Arsenal, we're going to play more attractive football. Palace dictate how you play by their shape. You have to be patient, you have to probe, you have to wait for your openings. And that's what they did. They got their opening, they got the 1-0 up, and as soon as we've seen recently, scoring the first goal for a big team, so important, all of a sudden, they're in control of the game, Arsenal. So it's a bit naive and idealistic to think that just because you're a bigger club and you're playing some of these so-called lesser teams, you can just go out and show this creative, wonderful football.
Do you know what? There was a period when Manchester City had about 70% possession in every single game, and they scored 3s and 4s, and people started saying, it's quite samey, it's quite boring, it's quite monotonous. So you can have it the other way and people still not be satisfied.
Yeah, you can. I think that, and I've thought this for a long time, there is no right way to play football. I keep hearing that all the time. Plays football the right way. The right way is to win. And I think if Arsenal go on to win the Premier League this season as a well-oiled machine, an efficient, well-oiled machine, I would be very surprised if there'd be any Arsenal fans who would be upset with that. Because, listen, one of the most famed teams of Premier League history was George Graham's Arsenal, 1-0 to the Arsenal.
But this is different, it does, because Timber flies forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, they fly forward.
That's the other thing. It's a misconception that they're boring to watch.
They're not pragmatic. They just got to a level now where teams go against them and go, squeeze, tight, drop off, stop Arsenal.
And what do we always say about the good teams? They find a way to win.
Yeah,
and that's what Arsenal managed to do. I think it's really unfair to criticise them. And I think... I gave you the stat earlier, 11 of their 16 goals have come from set pieces. But what does that tell you? He works on the details. So many people derided him, laughed at him in the documentary when he was working on the little details, finding different ways to motivate the players. But they are a team now that finds solutions. And I don't think you should be, or we should be, anybody should be criticising them for that. If they were to, look at where they are. Look at their points. Look at their consistency. Look at the number of chances they don't give. One shot on target for each of the last 3 teams they've played in the Premier League.
There's nothing wrong with Jeff saying he doesn't like watching.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. He's entitled to his opinion, and I'm not really speaking to that opinion.
The reality
I'm talking to a wider opinion.
The reality is we've been spoiled because Klopp's Liverpool was dynamic, chaotic, and one of the best front threes we've ever seen.
And City as well were out.
And City had arguably the greatest passing midfielder we've ever seen in De Bruyne. And Haaland and people like that.
Here's the other thing. We're talking about Liverpool and teething problems. For all we know, these are teething problems at Arsenal. They might be top of the league, but they've got a way to go to integrate all of their new faces, of which they have a number. Eze scored the goal yesterday, but he's probably playing out of position, filling in for Erdegaard, who's
but I think there's an ethos there. I think there was a basic ethos.
But you know what I'm trying to say?
Because if you'd
Jeff is saying that he's not happy with how Arsenal are playing. My point is they might be a lot better in 3 months' time, because these players are still gelling in the team.
My point is that I don't think that they have to be aesthetically pleasing as the season wears on, as long as they are doing what they need to do, which is getting those 3 points.
Well,
People started this season by saying, if Arteta doesn't win it, should he go? Do you think Arteta now cares that you think he's not playing with enough style?
He won't care, no.
We're going to continue our conversation about Arsenal, and we'll get to that incredible defence of theirs in a few moments. But Jeff Stelling will be back tomorrow on Breakfast, 6 a.m. alongside Ali McCoist, and they're going to be joined in the studio by cycling royalty in Sir Bradley Wiggins. So make sure you're tuned in from 6 a.m. for that. More Arsenal next. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. listening to Kick-Off on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft with you alongside Danny Murphy, the former Liverpool midfielder. The Mirror's assistant editor Darren Lewis here as well. We're talking about Arsenal and for the next 10 or so minutes, specifically their defence. What's wrong?
He's gutted.
What's wrong?
The assistant bit. I can see every time it comes out your mouth, he just drops in the chair a bit more.
It's a major role in British journalism.
I know, but it means he's only got 3 properties now instead of 5. If he was...
You know what's going to happen now, don't you? You're going to see a title change. The byline in the Mirror suddenly is going to have deputy editor or something like that. Just to let you know, there is one game going on tonight in League One, and it's Port Vale 0, Stockport 1, just 18 minutes or so on the clock in that one, low with the goals. So I'll bring you the updates throughout the evening. We're talking about the Arsenal defence, though. 1-0 win over Palace at the weekend. I was with my 2 good friends, big Arsenal fans, season ticket holders, Molly and Leon, meeting their newborn, 6 weeks old. We were watching the Arsenal game, and as soon as Eza scored, I went game over.
Yeah.
Game over. That's how good this Arsenal defence is. You know, and that's no disrespect to Crystal Palace and their ability to score goals. We know how good they've been. But this defence, I think, has the potential to go down in Premier League history as one of the stingiest, meanest defences that we have seen. We all know Chelsea conceded 15 under Jose Mourinho. What year was that? 2005, 6?
Yeah, 5, 6.
Yeah.
That was that Terry Carvalho.
Terry Carvalho, some incredible players. Check. Gallas, not Ashley Cole. Not Wainbridge was in there.
Glenn Johnson.
Glenn Johnson, yeah, exactly. But it was incredible. Listen, it was a team, right? It was the way that they defended as a team.
Because who was in front of them? Claude Makaleli.
Exactly.
Deco was in that team.
But I feel like this Arsenal team does have the potential to do something.
I might commit heresy and slightly disagree with you, although you might come back at me. But you said that if they don't have Rice, then you know they don't have a comparable player. But I think Zubimendi is hugely underrated. And now you might say that they're different types of player, but I still think he's a huge presence. I remember being at the European Championship in the stadium when Rodri
went off.
And everyone thought, that's it now, it's our chance. And this guy that no one had heard too much about, Zubimendi, came on and he was outstanding in the second half. And I think that he's a massive acquisition because he too knows how to protect that.
Let me make it clear, I'm a huge fan of Zubimendi. He's a very intelligent footballer.
Yeah.
I just meant with Declan, he's got this, more so it'll be in the big games. I mean, they probably, because they've got such quality against lesser opposition, it probably wouldn't. But in the big games, Declan gives you this wonderful physicality, and he very rarely loses the ball. He's so good on the ball, but when he goes after play, when he goes on that press, there's very few better midfielders than him coming, going to press the ball and winning ball back. And his fitness levels, you know, he's got everything really, and that's why they've moved him forward into this number 8. You could argue a bit more goals and assists, but he's the. All I'm saying is, if you say Zubimendi come out for a month and you had to put Norgard in.
You mean Rice, who was out for a month?
If Zubimendi was out, you've got Norgard to come in. Captain of Brentford, nice footballer, intelligent. Moreno could come in. If Rice comes out, they haven't got a like for like.
I see.
They'd still be comfortable and they'd still have good quality, but they don't have another Declan. They don't have someone who does what he does.
No, I agree. I would take that point. I just think they would still be a team able to find solutions because they've got so much personnel. What I would say about in general about Arsenal is that we're talking about this defence now, but it's not come from the clouds. They had a superb defence last season. It was the best in the Premier League. They had an impressive defence season before that. And what he has done steadily is built and built and built on that defence ever since Saliba was missing in the business end of the title race a couple of seasons ago, and they dropped points. I think Southampton, one of those teams, a couple of others as well. And he obviously decided, I'm never going to be in this position ever again. And I not only do I like the way that he's almost collected defenders. Hincapié, we've not seen too much of. Mosquera, with 2 very unheralded signings of the summer, but they've come in and really bolstered that defensive base that they've got. But he's been a bit ruthless with players he's brought in at fullback. You know, Zinchenko came in, then he was out. Miles Lewis-Skelly was outstanding, still is a fantastic player.
Was brilliant midweek.
Brilliant in midweek, but he does like centre halves playing at fullback like Pep Guardiola does when he puts Gvardiol at left back very often. And I think with Calafiori, he does like to play him there. He does like to play Glenn White on the other right-sided flank. And it's a big part of not only why they're strong defensively, but also why they're powerful defensively powerful at set pieces.
It was
because they've got that height, that physicality, and that's why they've scored 11 times out of 16. Or 11 of their 16 goals have come from set pieces.
It was 0-4-0-5 Chelsea. Cech, Terry, Carvalho, Gallas, Bridge, Paulo Ferreira, the defenders in that squad. Good. Yeah, absolutely. They only conceded 15. Does this Arsenal team have the potential to concede 15?
They've got every chance.
Yeah,
every chance.
No, conceded 3 so far.
No, I don't think so. I just think that with all the other, with the bigger Europe, there's more European games now where they're going to have to be at it midweeks as well. The quality they're coming up against that teams have in the Premier League in forward areas now, it's, of course there was quality back then, but this is, 15 is ridiculous.
But Dan, don't you think, if you look at this month, and there was a terrific match report by Riaf Al-Samurai and colleagues at the Daily Mail today, where he talked about the fact that they've conceded only one goal in each of the last, one shot on target for the opposition across each of the last 3 games in October. Now, if you track that across the season, they've played 9 times already so far this season. So multiply that by 4. You know, if you're not even getting shots on target, let alone scoring goals against this Arsenal team, why would we not suggest?
Well, I mean, I suppose all we can do is wait and see, and if they do, you give the plaudits as they're due.
I'll ask you if you think they can beat some of the other famous Arsenal defences. Then the Invincibles conceded 26.
But I watched.
Yeah, they can beat that.
You would have played against that Invincible side, wouldn't you? I think that there were times when they had a lot of luck. That Invincible side, you know, which you need, obviously, so I wouldn't deride them. But I think this Arsenal defence, outstanding.
Can they add Thierry Henry?
Can they beat the title-winning side of 1991? 18 goals conceded by the legends Seaman, Dixon, Winterburn, Adams and Bold.
That was a good
Can they beat those 18 goals conceded? It was pre-Premier League.
Was that more games as well? Was that
40? No, 20 teams in the league at that stage, I think.
No.
91?
There'd be more.
No, because they cut it for the Premier League.
There'd be more games as well.
Hey, I looked it up earlier. I'll check again. But do you think they'll concede less than 18?
I could see them concede it. I know it's a big thing to say, but he has invested and invested and invested in that back.
Does it matter if they win it? Does it matter?
No, but I'm just intrigued.
I don't think Arteta...
Wikipedia tells me there were 20 teams in the league that season.
I don't know. I don't think Arteta would care less.
No, I know, but I'm just asking... Play along with me. Do you think they'll concede 18 or fewer? Can they beat that defence? Seaman, Dixon, Winterburn, Adams and Bold. What do you think?
I think they'll concede more than 18. What did Liverpool concede last year? We'll have a look.
I'll have a look in a minute. One thing that I thought actually stood out to me about that defence, by the way, in 1990-91. Guess how many of those 5 players played 38 games? All 38 games for Arsenal in that defence.
4.
4 of them.
That's unbelievable.
And the only one that didn't was Tony Adams, because he went to prison for 57 days.
Wow.
Otherwise, he probably would have played every single match as well. That football has changed significantly, but that is incredible.
Yeah. And
you know, because the thing is, we're talking about iconic defences, and I will ask you about Gabriel and Saliba, for example. Football's changed in a way, you know, we say, well, the best central defensive partnerships, right? Where would they maybe stand if they can break the record or even get close to it this season? But then you think about kind of classic defences, and we know that Arsenal's defence, especially in wide areas, is going to change significantly. Maybe Timber's going to be there a lot, but the left back, you know, there's going to be changes throughout the season.
Yeah, but
do we see it in the same light?
Well, for my money, and there'll be lots of people listening, and Dan might disagree, but I think
41. Is that correct?
Yeah, Arsenal conceded 34 last season.
Sorry, Darren,
No, it's important. Arsenal were the best defence, 34 last season. They won't concede less than 20 this season, no chance. 15 will never be broken. Rory, did you see Roy Jennings talking about this?
No.
He was on a show talking about this, because obviously it's Chelsea.
Yeah.
And he was saying it's the one record in football that will never be broken. I think he even said he'd bet his house on it.
Sorry to interrupt you, Darren. Go ahead. You were saying?
No, I just think that this Arsenal team, Arteta has solutions in every position if he were to lose a player.
50.
Listen, it's a big call. Absolutely, it's a big call. But I just think that we are a quarter of the season gone
Yeah.
now.
They've conceded 3.
They've conceded 3 goals.
It's incredible.
And
At
you're
this,
not,
at
it's
this
not,
rate, it'd be 12.
Yeah.
and no team, as I understand it so far this season, has had into double figures in terms of efforts on goal against Arsenal. And so efforts on target, I should say. So I think as far as Arsenal are concerned, if you're not even getting the chances, how are you going to score the goals? He hasn't just got a fantastic back four, he's got outstanding protection for that back four as well. He's got a fantastic keeper who's competent, who organises his defence well. People deride him, and it's interesting we're having this conversation now because people before were saying they're not that great after Manchester City. They don't show enough ambition. He's a coward, and all of these. You watch it all the time. Now we're talking about could they have.
But they will still say that if they don't win it.
And that's the problem. That's why I don't think he cares how he gets those 3 points. He just wants to keep getting those 3 points.
In a word, gentlemen, will Arsenal win a Premier League title at the end of this season, Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
I hope we're all wrong. I hope something changes dramatically and it's just this wonderful title race and 3 or 4 teams are involved. I mean, it's crazy to think how much speculation we had before the season started and who we think Liverpool are going to be dominating, Arsenal will be there about. Now, basically, everyone I'm listening to after a quarter of a season, everyone's saying Arsenal have got it in there. They've got one hand on it.
Yeah, but I just think that what you've said, and we've talked about this in the last couple of weeks, the first quarter of the season has been a huge vindication of Arteta's transfer policy because people question Madueke. Why are you spending £50 million on a player who can't get into Chelsea's team? He's been outstanding since he arrived. You know, Eze's been fantastic since he's arrived and he's shown that quality at the weekend and he's deputised for Odegaard. Even players that have been there, still been there. Martinelli, people wanted him out in the summer.
Raised his game.
And Martinelli's raised his game. And then you look at Mosquera coming in when Saliba's been injured. Nobody's talking about Saliba at the moment. There are solutions for Arsenal in virtually every position. The one position that they might have an issue, goalkeeper, if they were to lose Raya. But then I don't really see...
I mean, he doesn't even get involved.
Well, exactly. And this is the point. You know, he has so little to do in games because they are so effective around him.
No, yeah, they have got Kepa. You're absolutely right.
Kepa's not in the... For me,
he had a good
not in the
season
same
last
weight
year.
class.
Yeah, but again...
He did all right.
We're
no, but you're right. He's not in the same.
We're talking about just can you make it through until Raya's back?
Hold on,
depending
let's
on the
get it-
injury.
let's
I think
get it-
I think they could.
Let's get it right. They don't need a good second goalkeeper. They don't. Nobody gets any shots on target.
Just to let you know, it hasn't been a great night at home for Port Vale this evening. 3-0 down now inside half an hour. Nathan Lowe had given Stockport the lead. Goals going in quick succession from Carl Wootton and Jack Diamond mean they're probably going to be taking all 3 points, barring something rather miraculous. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Up next, a Manchester City proving to be too reliant on a certain Erling Haaland. Saturday, Joshua Boazzi makes his Queensbury debut. He's taking on Zach Parker, who's on a winning streak since losing in 2022. You can watch it this Saturday. It's live only on DAZN.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
We're having a good night so far. Loads to discuss in the Premier League. Let's get on to Manchester City, who I think slipped up at Villa. 4th straight league win for Aston Villa. They are one of the form teams in the top flight, and it was a great goal from Matty Cash to win it. It's City's 3rd defeat this season. They are 6 points behind the leaders, Arsenal. Erling Haaland missed some chances in the game, but you just can't pin the defeat on him. They have relied on him, and he's pulled them out, I think, of loads of situations so far this season, because anyone who's preparing to face Manchester City has to think, how do we stop this guy? And a lot has to go into making sure that you restrict him as much as possible. But I felt watching City so far this season that if you can do that, you can stop City completely. He is so far and above in terms of what he delivers on a match day, in terms of the other attacking players, in terms of the other midfielders. You know, they have not hit the heights that you would need to win a Premier League title, not even close to it. You think of Doku and Savinho, you know, the likes of Foden, for example. You know, so many players in the Manchester City squad that you can say, we need to see more from you. We just need to see more from you if this team is to get where it wants to be. I don't think they are in the title conversation. I think they're in the top 4 conversation, that's for sure. But the
very
title,
early to say that.
The title conversation.
I actually tend to agree, just because of where they are defensively. I think Mamouche a big miss.
Just came back at the weekend.
Came on. I think Cherky could add some creativity and goals to them. Again, been injured. Those two are going to make a difference to try and help Haaland, because they're so reliant on him. What was fascinating about the game, because I did the game, worked on the game. So he played his midfield 3, if you like, with 1 sitting and 2 ahead, which he does a lot. He played Reinders as the holding midfielder, and we've seen him. He's a terrific attacking midfielder. You wouldn't say defensively he's that big a presence or he's that dynamic. So he played him holding, and he had Kovacic on the bench, Rico Lewis, who he was raving about in that position a week or 2 ago, and he had Gonzalez on the bench. Now, when you watch Villa, I don't remember a time when Unai Emery hasn't played the same system. He plays 2 wide men who tuck in just ahead of those central midfielders and a 10. And they try and get in the pockets, all of them, all 3 of them. It was Buendia, McGinn and Rodgers. So if you've watched them or watched them any time under Emery, there's the danger area. And City, to be fair, in the first 10 minutes, they went after Villa everywhere and were winning the ball back and causing them problems. But as soon as Villa settled and played through the first press, the amount of times in the first half Reinders was on his own, Villa running at the back 4 of City, and it was like, what? When you're playing Villa away, who've got Rodgers, who've got Buendia, who likes to come in there, McGinn tucks in and gets in those pockets. Why are you playing a number 8 as a number 6? When you've got 3 holding midfield players or 3 more orthodox defensive midfield players on the bench. It was a bizarre one. If you're a Villa player on the team, now don't get me wrong, second half he changed it. They made some changes. They pinned Villa back. If it wasn't for some last-ditch clearances and blocks and the Haaland goal late on getting chalked off for offside, they might not get the win. But it was a bizarre one for me. That I'm questioning Pep. It's ridiculous, really, what he's done. It just seemed the team sheet came in, and I was talking with the people I was working. I was like, this seems a bit mad. And as the first half went on, you just see it. More attacks in the pocket.
But is there an argument in defence of Pep for saying, as you were saying in terms of midfielders trying stuff, he tries stuff. He tries stuff all the time.
Well, he had Bernardo Silva and Foden ahead of him, pressing, which is fine, because those two are both great players. But I still think you give the opposition respect. Well,
I agree.
And I'm sure they lost to Villa last year as well.
Yeah, they've lost. I think they've lost to Villa in each of the last 3 seasons.
You know, so I don't know. I just thought he made a bit of an error there for once in his wonderful career. But I'm saying, I'm not writing City off because of the lads they've got coming back. But I do agree with the Haaland thing. If he gets injured,
there's 2 things to say. I mean, I think defensively, Villa, they've had clean sheets in 3 their 3 games before this match, they'd had clean sheets in each of them. So they're actually getting better, home and away.
No, Tottenham, they won 2-1.
No, they were winners at home to Everton. They were winners away to Villarreal. And let's have a look.
2-1
and their
at
ways 2-1 at Tottenham. Yes, they were 2-1 at Tottenham. 1-0 at Brentford. 0-0 against Everton.
Last week.
They conceded against Spurs. They conceded against go-ahead Eagles in midweek, and they conceded.
Sorry, we're talking
at
about
home
Villa.
To Burnley. We're talking about Villa. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about City.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Sorry, we thought you were talking about Villa.
No. So I'll start again. City are better defensively than people are giving them credit for. They've started to stabilise. They were 2-0 winners of Villarreal, 2-0 winners over Everton, 1-0 winners over Brentford. Before Saturday's defeat to Aston Villa. So I do think that maybe we're not giving them enough credit there. I do agree with the point about Erling Haaland.
Yeah.
I think that if you take out last weekend's game against Villa, he has scored all the goals in each of their last, I think, 4 or 5 games. And
I think the second top goal scorer for them's on 1.
Yes. And I think if you go back to the end of September, only 3 players have scored goals apart from Haaland. He's literally carried them on his back. So if he were to get an injury, God forbid, or be suspended, they'd be in real trouble. And you've got to have players step up. Marmoush needs to do more. Foden's outstanding, but he needs to do more. Silva needs to score more goals. They've got the quality. We all know that they've got the quality. And if they're going to hang in there, some of the others have got to step up.
I do think he's been searching for something for a while, Guardiola, and he always wants to try and stay one step ahead of all the other coaches in football. And there are times that I think you need to go back.
Overthink, yeah.
There are times that I think you've changed the way that, for example, I mentioned earlier when we were all getting bored by City because they had so many passes per game and it felt a bit like the old Barcelona where Xavi would have more passes than the opposition put together. But they were winning every week. And he went, well, do you know what? We didn't win the Champions League, so next year I'm changing everything. And he said this season, I'm bringing in new first-team coaches because I need new ideas. And it's like you're pushing, you're searching for something different, something that no one else can see.
But that's good.
No, listen, I enjoy the endeavour. And if you win every week, then fantastic, stick with it. But my point is, he's had better ideas that worked in the past that he's already got rid of because he's searching for something that...
But I think that's the sign of good leadership. You're always looking to evolve. Look how much credit we gave to Sir Alex Ferguson when he was changing. He had different, Carlos Queiroz, Steve McLaren, all these different number 2s that he would bring in to have new ideas and to stay one step ahead of the rest. And that's what Pep Guardiola's trying to do. I don't think we should reproach him for that, should we?
No, The system was actually very similar to what he's played in the early days, actually, the one on Saturday. But you're right, in terms of, used to be the fullbacks going in, that was new. Then it was the centre-halves going into midfield and the fullbacks squeezing in. It was always something he's tweaking. But
this is what I was saying before about the fact that he tries things.
He does.
We cannot reproach him for trying things.
I think the over-analysis on City's defence, or even Liverpool's not an over-analysis on Liverpool's, but City's maybe in recent, is because what you're looking at trying to overcome is Arsenal's defence.
Mm-hmm.
And their ability to see out games and keep clean sheets. So we might not be as critical, or the analysis wouldn't be as in-depth on City's defence if you weren't comparing it to this monster over here who are just defensively perfect, more or less, at the moment. I do think watching them, and Everton and Brentford really, and Villarreal, 3 clean sheets against teams you probably expect them to beat. The teams who've scored against them have caused them problems.
But I remember last season,
even the Everton game. I don't know if you saw the highlights.
Yeah, I did see the highlights of that.
They made some chances.
Yeah.
So, and when you watch Villa against them, the amount of times they were on that back 4 and the back 4 was scrambling, and it's like they haven't got that company. And Diaz has been brilliant, but he's not the same. Stones, wonderful player, but maybe not as good as he once was. I don't know. I might be wrong, and I hope from like a punditry point of view, the title doesn't become one-horse race, because that's boring.
I remember last season saying at the start, asking a couple of people more than saying it, would you rather have Liverpool's attack or Arsenal's defence? because at the time Liverpool were going great guns,
scoring loads of goals. But Arsenal, as I've been saying before, have built this defence. It's not come from the clouds this season. They've had this defence, a good defence for the last couple of seasons. And I think it might well be that we're not comparing City's defence to Arsenal's. We're saying City's offensive power is greater than Arsenal's. But that weakness that they have is not a weakness that Arsenal have. And I think that's the difference. Arsenal got better balance and they've got that ability to score goals.
As I've said a few times, I think Arsenal are the team with the fewest problems to solve.
Yes.
And that's why probably I think...
Great way of putting it, actually.
They're going to win the title based on that. But early days, like we say, we're going to talk about Wolves next. Fans, if you were one of those fans, maybe having a pop at the players after the game, or maybe you were one of those talking to Jose Sarr outside the stadium, do give us a call. I want to know what you said and why. 03717 223344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. You're listening to Kickoff. Hugh Woozencroft with you alongside Darren Lewis and Danny Murphy. Let's look at a bleak afternoon at Molineux then. Lyle Foster's 95th minute winner, earning Burnley a first away victory of the season and leaving Wolves winless, rooted to the bottom of the Premier League. The substitute struck late on. It looked like Wolves had earned a point after fighting back from 2-0 down. Now, obviously, there was a lot of disagreement in the Wolves camp. It all came to a bit of a head after the game. between goalkeeper Jose Sarr and some of the Wolves fans outside of the stadium.
No, it's okay, it's okay. We are just talking. We are just talking. We're all about as a club. No, we are just talking. We're all about as a club. We don't see enough passion on the pitch.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm trying to give this. Yes, no, that I am on the bench.
The whole squad needs the whole team.
Yeah, 100%. The way that we concede goals to is unacceptable.
What's your thoughts? Who's to blame? What's happening?
Who's to blame?
Yeah, come on, tell me. You can't really say that's a player.
Victor Pereira! Because it's not only ours. It's not only the players.
No.
I don't know.
You do know.
When we lose, I go home and I don't speak with my wife, with no one, because I'm sad.
He said he doesn't speak with his wife, just to be clear, if you didn't hear
Probably
that.
a tad of an exaggeration there, but yeah.
Well, no, he just basically was saying, he's very down after these defeats. And
I'm not a fan of accosting players, past or present.
Do you respect, though, that a player would come out and speak to angry fans in the way that he did?
I respect that. I don't mind that if a player chooses to come and address fans, but I don't like, if a player, past or present, is going about his business and fans kind of corner him and accost them and intimidate them into responding. I just don't like it. I think if you did badly in your job, if people driving around didn't like things you had to say, you were in Sainsbury's or Tesco's or whatever, would you like it if loads of people came up and accosted you on the basis of what you said on the radio? I wouldn't like it, and I don't think that I want to be sitting here condoning it from, everyone is passionate about football. We shout, scream and argue at each other here in this studio, yeah. I get that fans have an emotional investment in their team. And it's very easy to sit here and say that because they feel passionately. But we can't condone that passion crossing the line. And yeah, Jose Sarr, he represents himself incredibly well. He's a terrific communicator. But what if somebody isn't a terrific communicator? I just don't like it.
Has it happened to you, Danny, outside of a game, after a match, emotions running high, let's put it that way?
Yeah.
You had to address fans. What's that like for a player?
It happened to me it's probably happened more than once, but I was a bit older, so it was easier and I was able to articulate myself better. And it wasn't so aggressive that I was feeling that it could go a different way. And I've got no problem with it. It's not ideal because straight after game, the passion's high. Clubs now generally, especially at Premier League level, normally have a situation where the players leave without having to deal with that. That became prevalent as the years went on, the security of the lads. I think the first thing when teams are struggling that I hear fans in that exchange there tend to go to is this lack of passion. Now, I'd love to grab that group of fans and go over the 3 Wolves games I've seen recently and sit down with them and show them the running stats and show them how the Wolves aren't losing games because they're not trying. They are putting a shift in. Against Burnley, they came back from 2-0 down. In the second half, they were pressing, running 100%. Forward, trying to win the game. Lack of quality's fair.
Yeah.
Bad decision-making, mistakes, not lack of passion.
This is what we were saying in the break. I like Danny, I've watched a few Wolves games so far this season, and they have not lost games because they are not trying. Anybody who watched yesterday's game will know.
They were damn unlucky.
Oh, my goodness me, they were unlucky. They fought. They were unlucky that their free kick late on hit the bar. They were... when they did score goals, you could see the passion in the players. They fought back from 2 goals down. How do you show the character they showed yesterday?
I think
and not believe that there is passion and fight and spirit and desire.
It's a lazy one from that fan. The Wolves players are trying, yes, for sure. The problem is when you bring in lots of new players and lose high quality. And
go back a bit. The problem is when you keep selling your quality.
Selling your best players and replacing them from players from afar who need time to adjust, get on with the manager's philosophies and training methods and all those things.
Because Menezzi and Bellegarde, outstanding yesterday. I think Arias, quality yesterday. In fact,
got some good players.
They've got some good
players. The problem
players.
is they've got this mountain to climb now. And they climbed it last season because they didn't win in the first 9 last season. The big difference is this season is they don't have a Cunha, Mateus Cunha, and the other thing is compared to last season is
promoted sides. Yeah, they've lost to all 3 promoted sides already in their opening 9 games. They've got 2 points from their opening 9.
I mean, look, there are 29 games to go. There is a lot of football to play in the Premier League.
Big ask, though, isn't it?
It is a big ask. I do think, though, it's a bigger ask if you don't have the spirit and the fight that the players are showing.
They've got fight.
They've got fight. I think that the questions, if the fans aren't happy, and I would agree with them on this, it's upstairs. It's Jeff Shee, it's Fosun, it's the people who are making these decisions to sell the quality. Because we've seen it time and time again. I've worked in Premier League football for 25 years. Time and again, clubs sell quality players in their, in the sort of bottom third, if you like, and believe that they can still have the quality.
I know.
They're 6 points behind Fulham, who are just outside the relegation zone. They play Fulham at the weekend. It's very instructive in terms of
Fulham have won they've lost each of their last 4, if I'm not mistaken.
It's away at Fulham, but they also face, they're going to be going to West London a lot. They're at home to Chelsea in the Carabao Cup 4th round in midweek. The game after Fulham is Chelsea away.
Forget about the Cup.
How big's the game against Fulham? Must win?
Yep, for Wolves, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Not for Fulham. Fulham have been unlucky, actually, some of the games they lost, but maybe we'll talk about them later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We've got much more still to come on Kickoff this evening. A big win for the Black Cats to discuss. That's next here on talkSPORT.
From the Toffees to the Tractor Boys, the Eagles to the Seagulls, Gunners, Bees, Hammers and Magpies, Premier League teams have got a load of crazy nicknames. Ever wondered where they came from? Let's start with Everton. They're dubbed the Toffees, but why? Well, because when the club was formed, just down the road there were 2 local toffee shops. Ye Ancient Everton Toffee House and Mother Noblet's Toffee Shop were big fan favourites. Next, they say if you can't beat 'em, join 'em, and that's exactly what Ipswich Town did when it came to their nickname. The term Tractor Boys used to be chanted by their opponents as a way of putting the team down for their farming background. But during one game back in the late 90s, Ipswich were 1-0 up and they decided to flip the script. 1-0 to the Tractor Boys, they sang, and a new nickname was born. Let's head to Leicester, famous for more than just a red, well, orangey cheese and Jamie Vardy. Leicestershire is also the birthplace of fox hunting, hence the Foxes. Next up, turns out apples are not the only fruit that don't fall far from the tree. Bournemouth's nickname, the Cherries, comes from the fact the club's stadium was originally built right next to a bunch of cherry orchards. This next story actually involves two club nicknames. It started with Crystal Palace. They were having an absolute nightmare run back in the early 70s. They'd been relegated after a terrible spell, and manager Malcolm Allison decided enough was enough. He wanted a new nickname, something strong, fast and destined for success. Something exactly like an eagle. But there's more to this one. Brighton were in search of a nickname too, and Palace finally gave them what they needed. In a heated match between the two back in 1976, Palace fans began chanting, "Eagles, Eagles." And some clever Brighton fans came up with the perfect reply, "Seagulls, Seagulls." Not all club nicknames have a crazy story though. Take the Gunners. That just comes from the fact a group of munitions workers in the Royal Arsenal factory in Woolwich set up the club in 1886. On the flip side, some nicknames seem simple, but there's a bit more to them, like West Ham. The Hammers is actually nothing to do with the ham part of the name. It comes from the fact the club used to be called Thames Ironworks FC and was made up of workmen and shipbuilders. So next time the away end's chanting their crazy nickname, you'll now know exactly where it came from.
You're listening to Kickoff here on talkSPORT. This hour, Sunderland up to 17 points in the Premier League. Are they going to be safe already? We'll talk Manchester United. Have they turned a corner under Ruben Amorim after a big win over Brighton? And West Ham United lose at Leeds. How big is the job on Nuno Espirito Santo's hands? Or was he just the one responsible for it? All of that coming this hour. And remember, Jamie O'Hara and Dean Saunders are with you from 10 p.m. on the Sports Bar. This is talkSPORT. I am Hugh Woozencroft. Alongside me this evening, the Mirror's assistant editor, Darren Lewis. Laughing every time is Danny Murphy, the former
You're doing it on purpose.
I'm not.
He is, isn't he?
I'm Danny Murphy here, the former England-Liverpool midfielder. We've got to talk about the Mackems. Delight for Sunderland this weekend. 3 points with a late win over Chelsea. Probably their biggest result of the season so far. Took them up to 4th in the Premier League table. Chelsea dropped down to 9th. Now with 17 points from 9 matches, Sunderland have equalled their best Premier League start from 1999-2000. Only 5 newly promoted sides have earned more points than Sunderland in the same number of games in Premier League history. All 5, including Sunderland themselves, managed to survive from relegation. How confident are you, Darren, that Sunderland will be safe this year?
Can't ever say with any confidence. I mean, for a promoted side, it's far too early, and there have been lots of promoted sides that have come up, had a great start, and then the momentum has fallen away as injuries, suspensions, and bad form has started to kick in.
African Nations will be a factor.
Africa Cup of Nations as well is going to be a factor in December in Morocco. I remember covering over the years. I remember when Ipswich got into the Premier League and they had a great start and they stayed and they maintained it. They got into the European places. I remember Sheffield United having a great run when they came into the Premier League as well. So Blackpool as well. They've got lots of... There are examples for and against in terms of teams that have come up and done well and maintained it, and teams that have come up and done well initially and fallen away. I think it's always it's part of the reason why when teams win these, pull off big wins and people sort of start screaming at the end of it, they're in the Champions League places. In October, it means nothing. You know, it's 10 games. If you're talking about, whatever team you're talking about, the position that you're in October is meaningless. It's meaningless. The position you're in April, that has meaning. In early May, that has meaning. But I think even in March, it has meaning. But I think in those positions at this point, they're meaningless. What I would say is that the performance at the weekend, not only was it outstanding in terms of the eventual result, but in terms of the way that they went about it, it was fantastic, because Chelsea had scored first. Sunderland needed character, quality, organisation and resilience to withstand Chelsea when they came back at them late on. And then obviously to fashion the opportunity that eventually led to the goal. Dan Ballard, absolutely outstanding at the heart of their defence. And Xhaka, as always, experienced in midfield. And Isidore, outstanding.
I obviously covered the EFL, you all know that. And felt strangely, even though they came up through the playoffs, that Sunderland would have the best chance of staying up. I didn't expect their recruitment to be as good as it's been. And we'll get to the personnel in a moment, but because of Regis Lebris and his tactical setup, I felt he had to make the least adjustment compared to the other two to play in the Premier League. And I think the tactical setup against Chelsea was absolutely perfect, and exactly what, I know there was a change in shape, but exactly the kind of approach that saw them do so well last year. People think of Sunderland as such a big club, and the fact they finished fourth in the Championship and go, well, you know, it's Sunderland, you finished top six, you should be able to do that. But actually, if you look at their team last year in the Championship, that was against the odds. They were a young team. You know, think of Chris Riggs, 17 years old. They had Joe Bellingham in there. They brought in loads of players who were kind of slight outcasts where they'd been, these young players that he knew from Lorient, and no one really expected them to come into the Championship and do what they did.
But you can do that in the Championship. You can't get away with that in the Premier League.
But my point is the approach to games. It was even though they were fourth in the league.
Yeah, he's coaching now.
It felt like an underdog approach to a lot of games, which is that we're going to spring a trap on you. Yeah. We're going to attack with pace. The likes of Isidore, it was Mayenda last year. And I thought, you know what? They can spring that trap on Premier League sides and have success. The runners from midfield, the timing of it this weekend to get in and behind Chelsea time and time again, including for the winning goal, the trap was set perfect by Lebris. Big credit to him for that.
I think they should surprise everyone. Now, we talk generally about recruitment, and one of the things I've been an advocate of, and I hear a lot, is that you need some Premier League experience, and the majority of signings they made don't have that. So it's a huge risk and a huge outlay. What the signings have given them is legs, for sure. They're so much more athletic than the Championship side, which you'll know about. But the one signing who seems to have led the pack is Xhaka, who deserves great credit for taking on the challenge, because a lot of players of his ilk, you know, finished his Arsenal career on a high, went to Leverkusen, did what he did there, amazing, and then decided, I'm going to drop down, in effect, in terms of club size, and take a different challenge. And he's embraced it and led those around him, and he's obviously helping. I mean, I've listened to 2 interviews this week of other Sunderland players speaking about him in a way that rarely do you hear players. Yeah, of course you're going to say nice things, but I mean, it was really high compliments about his leadership and what an amazing captain he is. And his level of performance is really high. So that was a brilliant signing. The manager, you're right. I mean, irrelevant of how many new players you have or whatever system you play, you've got to have a group of players on board with the plan. I've seen it so many times where after a couple of games where you don't feel it's benefiting you or it's not working for the team, the group kind of go, oh, we're not playing that way again. And you can sense it in the performance and the body language. This Sunderland team is so on board with what the manager wants and so disciplined with it. That's down to the manager. And he's quite understated. Yeah. He's quite likeable for that. Even the interviews after the game, quite humble. And you were looking at the numbers again, and it was really interesting. And I know you're right to say about the positions, and I do concur with that generally. But for a promoted side to be on 17 points after 9 games, I think we were saying it's never been relegated. No. And that may be because there's not too many comparisons of other promoted sides getting 17 points after 9 games, but it gives you a hell of a cushion. And do you know what it does, Daz? It gives you this. The only time I've been down there, when I was at Fulham in my first season, the pressure every week to get something on board, to try and jump out of the bottom or stay clear of it, it's a burden. It weighs heavy. When you're on 17 points, as a side that's tipped for relegation after 9, all of a sudden you can play with a bit more freedom and express yourself more. Not complacency, obviously, but you can actually go into games and think, do you know what? I can have a real go today and take some more risks. So they've put themselves in a wonderful position. And I think every Sunderland fan on the planet, bar none, would still settle for finishing fourth bottom.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Maybe not. I might be doing them a disservice. But you know what I mean.
No, I know what you mean. I think most Sunderland fans would agree with you. You know, they want to survive. They want to be in the top flight. They know where the club's been. It went down to League One. They got a young owner, very ambitious guy. And the signings this summer underline that, I think. You know, a lot of them, you're right, didn't have Premier League experience. But if you look at the number they've played in European football, you know, for a promoted club to bring in so many players with that kind of experience, you know, I think it was really, really shrewd from him. And I think they can go from strength to strength. I do think they'll stay up in the Premier League this year. I'm confident of that. I'll put my neck out a little bit. For Chelsea, it was a poor result. A lot of the fans that went to Stamford Bridge coming away very, very unhappy with what they saw. What did you make of their performance?
Well, it's not that unexpected, really, for them. But at home, they've had a mixed bag, haven't they, really? Good performance against Liverpool, lost to Brighton, drew with Palace earlier in the season. They've had some games where you go, oh, this is a hell of a good side. They look exciting, dynamic. That midfield's working now. I've felt from day one, and I think Darren agrees with me on this, we've spoken about it before, you're always going to get this roller coaster of performances, this extremes, because of the lack of experience. You know, you can argue Palmer's missing, who's their best player, and I think he's a big miss for them. Everyone was a fan of Palmer and how influential he can be on games, but defensively, you need a leader. If you want to compete and be consistent, you need a Van Dijk, you need a Saliba or a Gabriel. You know, all the best teams over the years have had at least one of the centre-halves or one of the back four who's got that aura about him above the others, who can help the others, guide the others, settle the others. Now, they're all the Chelsea centre-halves who are decent players. Chalobah's improved, he's a good player. You know, he's got in the England squad. Tosin, they've got injuries, I know that, but even Colwell is a good player, he's a talent. But none of them are the senior figure. None of them are a Thiago Silva or a John Terry, are they?
No.
And I don't care till the day I pass away. I will always say that a team wants to win things and compete at the top. You've got to have some experience in the side.
Well, we started this conversation talking about Granit Xhaka, and it is no surprise that he's done so well with his experience. We talked about Brentford. You know, you've got Jordan Henderson in that midfield passing on his experience. You look at the great Chelsea sides that have won things and done things. They've all had that experience in their teams. The fact that Maresca, I was talking to you guys a bit in one of the breaks about the fact that he hasn't picked a player over 30, but he doesn't have a player over 30 because they've turned into business model FC. Yeah, they want to bring in players, turn them over, sell them at a big price, but you can't. And they will turn around and say, well, we won the Club World Cup, you know, we've won the minor European competition as well, fine. But you're not going to win the big trophies without that experience. And I know people say, oh, well, you know, you don't win anything with kids. Man United did back in that was an exceptional Manchester United. It's a generational talented.
Yeah, and there's a difference between... So Bournemouth's a great example of a lot of players. You wouldn't say they've got an abundance of experience. Some of those players have been at Bournemouth a little while and experienced the Premier League, but not loads of senior players with experience. But we're talking about a Chelsea side who want to be winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues.
And that's a difference.
It's a big difference.
The Manchester United team that you mentioned with the kids had loads of experience, internationals, had won things before as well. So it's a famous quote from Alan Hansen, but actually... With all those young players,
them in gradually as well. You know, he gave them time.
He had some really established top players for the league. I'm slightly worried by Chelsea in that they are the youngest average age in the division, which is crazy to think given the money that they've spent. And again, I'm sure all Chelsea fans...
Basically, it goes back to what I said to you before. It's a business model.
Yeah.
Listen, this Chelsea side, and Dan, you will probably speak better on this, but they are a world away from the Warriors that you talked about in 04-05, the Warriors in 2010-11, the ones who won the Champions League, who you had to carry them out on their shield before they'd give up, the fighters like Diego Costa, who was able to help Chelsea win the title under Conte.
Yeah.
This Chelsea side, they're young, decent players who every so often look
Tremendous, yeah, they do.
But they don't have that consistency. Great sides, winning sides, warrior sides. They've got consistency. You
They're
have
fighting
to
for top
fight them.
four.
Yeah.
At best.
It didn't look like it when that final goal went in. Adebayo, was it Chalobah, the other defender that had run back? You know, even more.
But like Danny
players,
said,
there wasn't a fight in that moment. It was the Sunderland players who wanted to win the game in that moment. The ones who sprinted and gave everything to get out the pitch. Chelsea players didn't.
You can't blame that on individuals because they don't have the experience. They don't, like you always talked on this show about Gary Mack at Liverpool and other players who basically say, hang on a minute, you stay there, don't you go running up there, you stay there, we're going to basically see this out. You've talked about it before. Chelsea don't have that, so they're gonna keep making mistakes like that. Not necessarily against the biggest teams. They can call it on against the biggest teams, which is what Esteval did. But against the smaller teams, the ones that set up with a low block,
It happened against the big ones. You know, and discipline's a thing which, you know, people say, oh, it's a bit of bad luck, but the sendings off have cost them. They cost them games and points.
We'll be back talking Manchester United straight after this. I finally get my moment. Fantastic. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. As you're listening to Kickoff here on talkSPORT, Hugh, Woozencroft, alongside the former England midfielder Danny Murphy and the Mirror's Darren Lewis. Gentlemen, are you ready to talk about Manchester United? Oh, yeah, man. Do you know what? I've been singing Man United.
If you want, we don't have to do this section. We could carry on the dating app talk.
I tell you what. So happy Manchester United won. I was at the Riverside Stadium when the scores were coming in, pitch side. I was ready to do a knee slide in my chinos. I don't care, right? I don't care, because that win for Manchester United, a 4-2 victory at home to Brighton, putting them into the top 6, which is kind of by the by, that was a more important win than beating Liverpool the week before. You had to back it up by getting all 3 points. You had to keep the good mood around the football club. You had to keep the positive momentum. It is 3 wins in a row in the Premier League. The first time United have done that since February of 2024. In fact, they're up to 4th in the Premier League table, or at least they were at the time. Do you agree with me that it was really most important in terms of the result this weekend to back up the Liverpool result?
To back it up?
Back it up.
Absolutely. Listen, it says a lot about how far Man United have fallen, that there is that triumphalism around 3 wins in a row. That's the minimum standard, as Roy Keane would say. That's their job. And I think even that victory at the weekend, it wasn't without some nervousness by the end because of the way that they left the back door open. And there are some realities about that performance and the bigger picture with Manchester United. They've conceded 14 goals this season. It's a joint worst in the top 12 with Liverpool. And I think in that match we saw that they will still give opportunities to teams. The truth about that match is that Brighton didn't really wake up until the last half hour, and had they been at it throughout the game, it might have been a lot more difficult. But you can't not give credit to Liverpool. Their front 6 was fantastic. Thank you. Man U, their front 6 was fantastic. Cunha, as we've been saying, Fernandes and Mbeumo were absolutely sensational on the day, and they were fantastic. And I think therein lies the issue with Manchester United. I will still say forever, the system of 3 at the back doesn't work. No. I know he adapts it every so often, but the basic starting system does not work for Manchester United. If he were to play a 4, suddenly that back door might be a bit more secure. But you can't decry them the win.
I got to give credit to the way that Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha have arrived at Manchester United. Yes, they know the league, but one was playing for Wolverhampton, one was playing for Brentford, with all respect.
It was sensible signings.
No, it's not that. Going into a Manchester United team that has been an absolute mess, the huge pressure that comes with playing for that football club, expected to win even though they've been absolutely dreadful. But the responsibility that they've taken on the pitch to make things happen for themselves. They're not waiting for the senior players, not waiting for Bruno Fernandes to make it happen for them by giving them a tap in. Just
before you come in, Danny, I just want to say this about Mbeumo in particular. I remember writing a story about this in the summer. Tottenham wanted him. Thomas Frank really, really, really wanted him. He wanted to be reunited with him. He'd done superb work alongside Thomas Frank at Brentford, and he believed that he could do it all over again at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But he wanted to go to Man United. He did not care what Man United's position was in the table last season. He did not care that they were in a mess. This is a guy who was utterly committed. Well, no, he wasn't even that bothered about the money. He wasn't even that bothered about them. He just wanted to play for Manchester. I know you're a bit of a cynic, but
I'm not. I know that he was offered a lot more.
He was offered a lot more money than Tottenham, but I also know that he just wanted to wear the shirt of Manchester United.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, because
I take your point, though. I think those two in particular, I thought as soon as Cunha went there, I had no doubts about him. I didn't expect Mbeumo to look so comfortable and confident. Even in the games where they've struggled, he takes responsibility and he's been a live wire. He's been taking the ball in, getting in good positions. And to be fair, I actually thought the weekend Šeško did all right. He led the line quite well, some really nice touches, got the assist. You know, he's starting to look that little bit more comfortable. The thing with United, I agree with you on the system. I still don't think, it's not all about the system, but I don't think it's a system that is easy to play on the front foot. The general reason you play a 3, if you're a more pragmatic team and want to play on the counter, generally, that would be... So I was talking to this with Ben and me on Saturday about it, and it's normally a system where you want to be harder to beat and then you spring out. And that's not Man U. And I don't think the players look that... The front three are all right with it because they've got a bit of freedom, but the rest of them I don't think really enjoy it. And I think it would suit United better if they changed it. And I also agree that defensively, relevant in the system, that they are going to concede chances. So I suppose what you've got to do, I think, if I'm Amorim or I'm a Man United fan, what am I hoping for? Confidence to grow, and maybe a philosophy of we don't have to be super tight defensively. We don't have to be perfect, but we can outscore teams. And we're actually going to make this a really exciting season and actually go for games, especially at Old Trafford, because that front three will cause mayhem.
Yeah, no, I think they do. I've seen commitment, intensity, aggression in particular from those two signings. And when I say aggression for a forward player, like I say, it's the intensity of your runs. It's if you get a little half chance, a snapshot, taking it on.
Keeping the ball under pressure when teams are coming to... Yeah. That's part of it as well.
You see, the problem that they have, and when I talk about the opportunities that they give to opposition teams, I'm looking at their fixtures now, the next few fixtures. They've got Nottingham Forest away, right?
That's a good game for them.
That's well at the moment, but if Sean Dyche manages to get his messaging across to those players, and obviously that because they've had a couple of negative results, he's going to be even more at it ahead of this next game. Tottenham away. You know, Tottenham with their ability to set pieces, their ability to sling balls. I mean, to be fair, Lomans looks decent. He looks better than Onana did. He looks very solid. But Tottenham away from home is going to be tough. They've got Everton at home as well. Everton off the back of a bad result. They're going to be a little bit sore and they're going to be at it. And then they're away to Crystal Palace. And Glasner knows how to find weaknesses in better teams than Man United.
Yeah, every game is still tough.
It's not a bad run.
I'm still worried about going away to the City ground and facing
I think getting
Forest.
carried away. I think honestly, I think that they've had 3 decent results.
Yeah,
but that back door is
that's
still
not,
ajar.
That's not turning a corner. No one's seeing Man United as the finished article or even close to it. No one's looking at the league table thinking, you know what, Man United are definitely going to be a top 6
team.
team.
You did point out the fact that they're up to 6th in the table.
Yeah, because it was in the script.
No, but then you are looking at the table.
Are they 6th?
No, but I don't write it. I just read it. The point is, no, they're 6th at the moment. They're 6th in the Premier League table, right?
Yeah.
But I still look at those 2 games. Away at Forest, that's a tricky one, even where they are in the table right now. They do need results. Their fans are incredible. City Ground's a tough place to go because of them. And then Tottenham away. I just think if he were to lose those 2 games going into the international break, what do you think the media conversation is going to be?
We are the media. Don't do that. Danny knows what I always say about that.
I said we are going to be saying he has to go, and we're going to have 2 weeks of that.
I actually think it's a great couple of games. You're going to Forest, desperate for a win, nervy, trying to take on new ideas, poor against Bournemouth, got overran. So the fans are going to be expectant of Forest, and they're not playing great. And then you go Tottenham, and Tottenham away from home are brilliant. But at home, again, there's a bit of discontent. They lost to Villa, last-minute equaliser against Wolves. They lost to Bournemouth. I think United will be looking at going, we've got a hell of a chance
I slightly
here.
disagree with you, Dan. I think...
No, I might be wrong. I'm saying from a United perspective, I'd be looking at it in a positive.
Yeah,
I'd be going, you know what? We've got nothing to fear here.
Yeah.
They've got top-class international. But you're right, defensively, I agree. Anyone can beat United on the bad day.
These are the moments where Manchester United's limited fixture schedule might be good for them, because Spurs are away at Newcastle in the League Cup. Obviously, a very difficult game. They host Chelsea in the Premier League. They then have a home game in the Champions League on the Tuesday night before they face Manchester United on the Saturday.
That is a great point.
So 4 games in the space of time that Manchester United are going to have 2.
Yeah.
But these might be the moments where Manchester United's limited fixtures actually do help them. Massive 2 games for Ruben Amorim and the Reds. We'll see if they can continue at their good form, up to 6th in the Premier League table.
Can I just ask before you move on, what is a good... You're a Man United fan.
Yeah.
What's a good season in terms of finishing position or in terms of silver? What's a good season?
I said coming into it, and I still remain the same way, exactly what Danny's just said about the formation and the tactics. Coming into the season, I said if they finish in the top half, with caveats, getting rid of loads of deadwood, improving young players, and we see these tactics start to really work, we can sit here at the end of the season and say, Man United just need better players. It's not the manager, it's not the tactics.
So what's the position?
I would be happy with a top half finish.
So if they finish top 4, would you say that's climbing Everest quickly?
If they finish top 4, it'd be incredible. absolutely incredible. Whether they do that
So you think
playing,
they'll
playing
finish top 6?
terribly or not, I think they'll finish 8th still. I haven't changed anything. I think they've had a good little run here, but, you know, there's going to be bigger challenges.
I am done predicting what's happening in this Premier League.
You know,
it's so hard.
Not just the Premier League. I think it's a great season for open leagues across English football at the moment. Very much enjoyable. And just to let you know, at Stockport, still going to the top of League One. They're 3-0 up, 70 minutes almost on the clock away at Port Vale. Stay with us. Up next, we'll look at some of the other big results in the Premier League, including another defeat for West Ham. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft with you, as is Darren Lewis and Danny Murphy. But by the way, I want to tell you about our biggest competition yet, because we're giving you the chance to play to win up to £100,000. talkSPORT's biggest cash prize ever. £100,000, which is completely tax-free. Now, if you're the winner, the excitement won't stop there. You'll also be coming to talkSPORT Towers on Thursday, the 13th of November, to play for that life-changing cash prize. Here is how to enter, and good luck.
18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word cash to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 338. All entries must be received by the 6th of November at 4 p.m. This is a TalkSport Limited promotion run on TalkSport, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
All right, let's talk about some of the other big results in the Premier League this weekend. We were with you live and exclusively on talkSPORT on Friday night at Ellen Road. Leeds 2, West Ham United 1. It was a game of two halves, that's for sure. A late Mateus Fernandes header almost brought West Ham right back into it, but it was all undone in the first opening 15 minutes where Leeds scored 2 goals. The second from a set piece, the first from a ball, a cross sent into the box, and it was a back post header that helped them take the lead, Leeds United. It was a crazy team selection by Nuno Espirito Santo off the back of their terrible, pathetic performance against Brentford. He made just 2 changes. However, I think he would have learnt a lot, because in the second half, Wilson came on after 20 or so minutes. Callum Wilson went up front, so they changed the shape, but they also brought in the midfield Magassa, Fernandes and Potts. They brought so much more dynamism into that team, and it was a very even game in that second half.
Let's not let him off the hook here, because I was at his first game at Goodison, and I was at the game against Brentford. So the team at Everton had Magassa in it, and he played well, and he looked athletic. It had Fernandes in it, athletic, got about the pitch, caused Everton problems second half. Looked a more solid, normal team select. Diouf was great at Everton. Now, yes, they were away on international duty, I get that, and he wanted to work with his players, and maybe he saw something in the back four or the midfield boys who were left behind, I don't know. But that game against Brentford, he had a young lad, Scholes, who's a left footer playing right back. He had Wan-Bissaka and Diouf on the bench. Walker Peters playing left back, who's been playing right back. And he had Souček and Irvin in midfield, who, no disrespect to the pair of them, aren't mobile. And Brentford ran them ragged. Now, he made changes at half-time against Brentford because he spotted his problem. Got the 2 full-backs on. He ended up changing the midfield. To be fair, he put Fernandes on the left against Brentford, which was a bizarre one when he did so well against Everton centrally. Fair enough, he's made a mistake. Some of the lads have flown in from all over the place. He thinks they're not ready, whatever. You then turn up at Leeds. You play the young lad who's left-footed right-back again. He leaves Fernandes out. Magassa was also left out from the Everton game. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you're just asking to lose. Oh, the other thing I've got to say as well is, after watching the games, it was crying out for Callum Wilson. Now, I don't see him train, but I've seen enough little snippets of him coming on in games where he looks fine. He looks sharp enough. And you've got no other option. The young lad who's all right, who came on in the games previously, but he's not as
Marshall,
big. Marshall, he's Irish lad, isn't he?
I don't know.
So he brought him on twice ahead of Callum Wilson. Didn't work. So he goes to Leeds, who are desperate for a win and will be under pressure if you get through the first 20 minutes of the game, because their fans are expectant. You play no centre forward when you've got a good one on the bench who's proven. Bring him on after 20. So you already admitted your mistake. You leave again the fullbacks off on the bench. He plays the young lad at right back, and he plays the 2 same midfielders who can't run against the Leeds midfield that are super athletic and dynamic.
And not only that, who had almost 4 days extra rest, because West Ham obviously played on Monday night and then Friday.
Yeah, that's true.
It was just, like I say, it was
he's
crazy.
a good manager. I'm not saying he's not, and he's looking at players, and he'll learn a lot in the last few games. But that was the most bizarre team selection against Leeds after what happened Monday that I've ever seen.
Does that point to something deeper going on at the football club?
Well, I do know that. My understanding is that, look, we started off this whole show talking about some of the teams where the clubs where the team ethos and the attitude is spot on. The mentality is collective. Everyone's pulling in the same direction. I look at that dressing room and I see 1 or 2 players that are not. I see a difficult dressing room that proved too much for Potter. I know that Nuno has a lot of faith from the people who run the club. Yeah, and they've brought him in there because they see him as a long-term option. But there are players there who might have a bit of quality. I'm not naming anyone specific, and it doesn't allude to any of your conversations, but my understanding is that that's a difficult dressing room, and the recruitment hasn't been what it should have been. And I think there are some, there's a bit of acceptance that in certain areas they've made mistakes. But I think that they will have to go again in the window and maybe get some players out if they're going to stay in the Premier League.
Thing is, they've got to be in touch to do that, haven't they?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I looked at that second half though and thought
much better.
You almost walk away from the stadium with a defeat, but having a lot of questions answered. Now I get it. The manager wants players who are right at it and showing the right attitude. And maybe if players are being left out because they're not showing that during the week, only he can really respond to that. But if he's serious about staying in the Premier League,
well, I defer to Danny to this because he knows. But sometimes somebody can do all right in training, but if their attitude's all wrong,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Well, it's a balance. Some players never do that well in training, but they're so reliable on match day. And some managers are very, very good at picking teams based on how you train, which is not a bad thing either. And he's finding his way. He's taking advice off people who are already at the club as well, and he's trying to take in all this information. But when you look at the team that finished, which had Leeds pinned in, which was Potts, who's a good young talent, can play and he can get about. Magassa, they had Fernandez. Then you add Paqueta, Bowen and Wilson to that.
Yeah, Wilson.
Somerville had come off, hadn't he? But for example, as a 3, or Somerville coming on for World playing instead of one of those, all of a sudden you're looking at those attacking threats going, and then they've got some legs.
Yeah.
And if you put Juve left back, Wan-Bissaka right back, I mean, you wouldn't want to play against them.
No.
The centre-halves are a question mark, granted. So that's why he wants to be compact and hard to beat and give them protection, because if you isolate those two, might be problems. But you've got to at least give yourself a chance. And I think he's obviously an intelligent manager. He's not daft. But that mistake he made, he can't make again.
No, absolutely not. Big games coming up for West Ham United, who have been, like I say, nowhere near it.
Leeds were good, by the way.
Leeds were good and did what they needed to do to
in
get
the
the
start
result.
of the game. Their tempo and intensity was excellent.
But again, Leeds
that's
are an
Leeds
example.
at Ellen Road.
But not only that, Leeds are a good example of a team where the team ethos is spot on. And everyone's pulling in the same direction in terms of the dressing room. Leeds, Sunderland, the promoted sides, when you look at them, Bournemouth has still got that good team ethos because the attitude at Bournemouth reflects their leadership. That's why they've not only stayed up, but pushed on. And I think Nuno's come in. I think ultimately, why has he done well at Wolves? Why has he done well at Forest as well? Because he's able to set that tempo, get the players out that are pulling in the same direction. He's got to do it quickly at West Ham, but I think he will.
Got to pick up some points before the international break because confidence being so low, it can get worse very, very quickly. A lot of people expecting a new manager was going to bring that positivity, some impacts on the results. They're at home, and that's a big thing for me. The London Stadium needs to be behind them. 2 big home games. Newcastle at the weekend, obviously a very tough one. They then host Burnley before the international break. They need to win that game.
Those 2 games.
Well, actually, we've just talked, haven't we? We were reflecting on West Ham's poor things. The relevance of whoever they're playing next is kind of, you've got to get that. When we do this thing looking at fiction, we do on this show, but
yes,
they've got to forget who they're playing and get their own house in order. And what I mean by that, it's worth just saying, because I remember Roy Hodgson coming into Fulham, and we were looking at fixtures going, can we get enough points? What about me? And he just knocked all that on the head. And it was really clever, because what he was saying is, I don't know why you lot are worrying about what anyone else doing when you can't sort yourself out.
100%.
Like, let's get this right, go out and play our way, and then we'll worry, we'll do what we can there. And I thought it was and I think that's where Nuno will be.
I'm looking at their fixtures between the international break and Christmas. No, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I've just got to worry for them because after the international break, it's away at Bournemouth, who are playing well, Liverpool at home, a trip to Manchester United, then Brighton, and then Villa and City before Christmas.
What Danny's saying is spot on, because if you're going to get out of that position, that you can't influence anything 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks away. You can influence what happens this weekend.
Just try and build some momentum.
And then exactly. And then all of that is, and we do it, and I'm as guilty of that as anyone, looking at what the fixture, I've done it on the show.
We all are.
But I think you can't, what Roy Hodgson did in that scenario is absolutely spot on. If you don't get your own house in order, it is pointless looking at what the fixture list
We
might
actually
bring
played
2
the
or 3
same
weeks
way
down the
whoever we
line.
played against to get ourselves back right, and that's what he'll have to do now. The thing is, as well, for West Ham now is the that relationship with the fans, where trying to get them to help rather than be a hindrance. Because when you go, I was at the home game against Brentford, and that's hard to play in now.
Yeah.
They're waiting.
They got to give them something in the next 2 games, Newcastle and Burnley. We shall see. We'll touch on
Newcastle home or away.
They're both at home.
Just very quickly, very quick. Do you think it could be worth the Newcastle game him saying, I don't care about scoring, I just want to keep a clean sheet in this game?
Yeah, and I was going to say, actually, the fixture list you were saying after the international break, sometimes when you're in dire straits and your confidence is low, being able to, just that thing about defending and stopping and destroying, not worrying about having to create, can be a blessing. Because you all get deep, and no West Ham fan's going to expect them to come out in some of those games and try and go toe for toe. So you tend to get. I mean, Moyes' West Ham team's got some great results to get. I remember them winning at Arsenal, I think, one year.
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, and you can sometimes get results in those games because the expectation's lower, and you really concentrate on defending because you've got respect. But I think they're in trouble.
Okay. All right. We'll touch on a couple of results from the weekend and also look ahead to some Carabao Cup action straight after this. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
They go straight to penalties if it's level after 90 minutes. You are guaranteed drama.
And Grimsby Town have knocked Manchester United out of the League Cup.
Up steps Damsgaard, right-footed, slides it into the bottom corner. Brentford are through.
And the goal for Wycombe Wanderers.
Easy street for the Premier League side. Fulham 2, Bristol City now.
Given away by McCarthy, Isak!
And Crystal Palace have beaten their South London rivals.
Arsenal go on into round 4 after a victory at Val Park.
Barnsley 0, Brighton 6. And it's finished Tottenham 3, Doncaster 0 with the very last kick of the game.
Bruno Guimaraes gets above the marker and heads the ball in at the far post.
First time into round 4 since 1977. Wrexham 2, Reading 0.
And they've scored twice in 90 seconds to turn it around at the beginning of the second half. Chelsea will know that they've been in an epic cup tie here. Lincoln 1, Chelsea 2.
Just got to love the Carabao Cup.
Carabao Cup action coming your way across the week on the talkSPORT network. Tomorrow night we'll have Grimsby against Brentford live for you here in the 4th round. Over on talkSPORT 2 will be Wycombe Wanderers taking on Fulham. Wednesday night Liverpool against Palace. Here on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2 we'll have Arsenal's game at home to Brighton. Loads of great fixtures coming up for you in the Carabao Cup. Grimsby, who obviously knocked out Manchester United a little bit earlier on in the competition, face another Premier League side at home in the shape of Brentford. Changes. Clubs making big changes, which obviously Brentford will, gives you an opportunity. If you're playing well,
we think they will.
No, you don't think they will?
Well, I think because maybe he's had such a good few weeks and they've put themselves in a decent position, maybe he can play a few more than he would have done if they were in a bit of trouble. So, and also as well, there's maybe it's changed. I used to find that a lot of the lads wanted to play to keep rhythm and keep momentum.
He's your age, right? It's not much.
Yeah, I played against Keith a lot, yeah.
So you would probably be a bit attuned to that mentality.
Sorry, gentlemen.
Oh my word!
I want to get your opinions on this. I'm just seeing on a TV screen above my head, and it has surprised me that Brendan Rodgers is leaving Celtic. That's been reported by our colleagues at Sky Sports News. I know we haven't got long on the show. I'll try and get a confirmation of it. Your initial reaction to that, Danny?
Surprised. I am surprised. He's obviously done a really good job there since he's gone back. The fact it's saying leaves suggests that that's partly him rather than sacked.
I mean, at the weekend they did lose to Hearts. It was comprehensive. Hearts have gone 8 points clear.
I think he feels probably hasn't been back.
Let me bring you a statement on the Celtic website this evening. Celtic Football Club can confirm that football manager Brendan Rodgers has today tendered his resignation. It has been accepted by the club and Brendan will leave his role with immediate effect. The club appreciates Brendan's contribution to Celtic during his 2 very successful periods at the club. Brendan leaves Celtic with our thanks for the role he has played during a period of continued success for the club, and we wish him further success in the future. The process to appoint a new permanent manager is underway. The club will update supporters further on this as soon as possible. We're pleased that during this interim period, the former Celtic manager Martin O'Neill and former Celtic player Sean Maloney have agreed to take charge of Celtic first-team matters. So you're not going to hear Martin O'Neill on talkSPORT as much.
He was on this morning.
I did not expect to hear that Martin O'Neill would be going back to Celtic as interim boss.
Do you know what that says? That says 2 things. That says that this hasn't happened tonight. This has happened, either early in the day or yesterday, because obviously you'd have to have conversations with...
I think this has happened today.
Well, but my point is, hasn't happened tonight.
No, but I don't think Martin O'Neill would have been up here this morning.
The club statement says that Brendan Rodgers has today tendered his resignation.
Yes, my point is that it hasn't happened this evening. It would have happened earlier in the day, so that they would have been able to have that conversation.
I think more importantly, I mean, I don't know this from Brendan's perspective, but it does feel that he's probably a little bit frustrated at the lack of funding he's had to strengthen the squad, and feels maybe he's taken them as far as he can.
They've been outclassed in Europe, outclassed at the weekend, as I say. I think Hearts are 8 points clear, if I'm not mistaken, at the top of the SPL. And I think as far as Celtic are concerned, they're not being competitive, and he feels that he can't do what they want him to do with the resources that he has.
I have to say, we were talking about, me and some friends were talking about Wolves at the weekend after their defeat, and I said I said, it can't be long for Victor Pereira. You know, he might get sacked soon. They said, who do you think will take over if he went? And I immediately said, I think that's a job for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, but
I do think.
But if Brendan Rodgers goes there and he's got the same lack of quality that Victor Pereira,
I don't think.
I think he would want a Premier League job.
I don't think.
I think. Why would you leave Celtic unless you're going to go and
There
get a
could
Premier
be
League
loads
job?
of reasons, and Brendan's, you know, he's quite single-minded. Yes, I'm not suggesting there isn't another opportunity that's come up that he wants. I don't think Wolves would be that. He's on a hide into nothing now.
I agree.
Do you think he'd go to the Championship?
No.
No?
Why would you? If
I agree.
I also think as well, and I might be just thinking off the top of my head here, is that if he was to go, when handing in your resignation, Celtic don't have to accept it. If they hadn't got word from him or some sort of contractual obligation, he's not walking into another club, because they would be deserving of compensation.
I'm kind of stunned by it, because I don't feel there's a need to tender your resignation if you're Celtic boss, especially
I don't know about that.
No, if the club are not pushing you out.
Your top is if you don't finish top, then no other position will do if you're Celtic boss.
I know it's 8 points, but they're perfectly capable of closing that gap.
Surmountable, yeah.
But we said before, if
it's more than that.
Exactly, you could win the SPL. Celtic routinely do it, but if you can't do more than that, if you go into Europe and you're outclassed time and again, and you don't have the players to be able to go deeper into the competition,
But he knew that when the deadline closed.
Very quickly, a lot of people have said Ange Postecoglou.
That's a shout.
Could he go back to Celtic in your view?
No, I think he would, because I think he would. You don't think so?
Well, why wouldn't he go back now if they wanted him?
Maybe they're trying to agree terms with him.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't put someone like Martin O'Neill in charge now, would you?
I wonder if Martin would want to stay.
We're going to find out. Let's try and get Martin on the phone, shall we? Friend of talkSPORT. If you're just joining us, please do give us a call, Celtic fans, with your reaction. Breaking news this evening at almost 10 p.m. Celtic Football Club confirming their manager Brendan Rodgers has today tendered his resignation. It's been accepted by the club. Brendan will leave his role with immediate effect, with former manager Martin O'Neill and former Celtic player Sean Maloney taking charge of first team matters. 03717 223344. Sports Bar is on the way with Jamie O'Hara and Dean Saunders. Give him a call and have your say. Good evening.